Have some fun tonight. Go get us a W. Hell yeah. Ready. Green. What the copy? Right foot down. We got to go, player. Unbelievable, man. Way to keep your hand in it. Holy oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah. What? Yeah. I'm done with it. It's your base. Set sail. Steve, you look beautiful. Doing great. Ridiculous, man. Holy. You see that? Holy cow. Good job, man. Two times, baby. Yeah. Holy crap. Yeah.
Live from Nashville, Tennessee, and from Houston, Texas, we're back. Welcome back, everyone, to the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. I'll make sure they're not muted. That would be a very unfortunate thing to just hear me monologuing all night. But, man, we have a lot going into this season to discuss. There is tons of rule changes, retirement, silly season. Oh, yeah, we got a race at the end of the week, too. That's really big. But I think to start off, this show is pretty well known for having a fan perspective, of having just those off-the-wall, crazy hot takes or opinions. So I figured let's just start off with that. And let's get it to the guy that is to that corner down there, the Houston guy, the lone man, the odd man out of this little bunch at the moment when it comes geographically, Eric Estepp. Eric, what's your little hot take going in the year? And while we're at it, let's give you a little timer on this. You only get 1 minute to give me your hot take.
Well, I guess that's a good thing, because I actually don't really have a hot take. I'm like you said, I'm the lone Texas guy, but for some reason, my favorite driver growing up was born and bred in Wisconsin, literally the polar opposite end of the country. But I want to take this minute to talk about Matt Kenseth making it into the NASCAR Hall of Fame on his first try. That was super cool. Just earlier this month, the ceremony was streamed on Peacock. Hopefully you guys got to see his 10, 11-minute speech. And I wasn't there in person, unfortunately, but as a lifelong Matt Kenseth fan, getting to watch my guy, the dude I pulled for years, every month of the year, it was pretty special. I know you guys have all experienced it with Dale Earnhardt Jr. going into the Hall of Fame a couple of years ago, but to see Matt Kenseth try to get his first moment, I guess if that's my hot take, it's that Matt Kenseth never got the spotlight he truly deserved. He came in with Dale Jr., he went out with Dale Jr., and as great as Dale Jr. was, obviously he took a lot of the spotlight, but it was pretty great to see Matt Kenseth go to the Hall of Fame. Darian, what's on your mind here as we begin this first episode?
Oh boy. I mean, February 1st has been full of a ton of news, NASCAR related and really just sports related in general. But the one that has gotten gotten NASCAR fans in such a gripe today. Joe Graf Jr. Oh boy, Joe Graf Jr. gets to make 5 starts in the Xfinity Series this season for Joe Gibbs Racing. Everybody, this is a guy who is DNQ'd not only for Richard Childress Racing, but also colleague as well. Maybe the third time's a charm with one of the Mega Buck competitive teams. Maybe we'll see how he performs, but unfortunately, just another case of paid drivers not having to perform well at all to get these rides and stuff. Hey, money makes the world go round. Money talks in racing. But we'll see how it goes. We'll see if it's another case of a paid driver wasting a spot. He's a nice guy, though.
Wow, that was almost to a T to a minute. Nice job, Danny. You're up. What's your big hot take or big thoughts going into the year?
Well, side note, Eric, I am sorry that you talked about Dale Jr., Matt Kenseth. I'm sorry that they had Dale Jr. right up there on stage of him the entire time, as I saw.
Yeah.
But my hot take, though, a guy that I saw when the first race I ever went to, this is his final season. Kevin Harvick is making it his last season. Our chat is big fans of Kevin Harvick, as you've known from the previous years. Huge supporters of Kevin Harvick, just an absolute inspiration to the chat and ourselves. But I am going to say in this final season, it's going to be a little bit like it was in 2021, and he's going to go winless in his final season. That is my hot take for this year. Kevin Harvick is not going to go out as a winner this year.
Wow. That's a good one. That's a really good one. But, at the same time, people thought probably last year would be a hot take to say that Truex would be winless. So
actually, and you know what's funny? Steve Letarte was the only guy to actually make the right prediction to start
Yeah.
off the year. He predicted that he would not make. Yeah, last year, Eric. Yeah,
Did he
predicted
really?
that. Yes. Yeah. And my upload about it. Yeah, he did.
So really quick, I just want to thank all 500 plus of you in here. Be sure to lick that like button.
We're not even 10 minutes in. That's crazy.
Yeah. And my hot take is one I don't know if people are going to be too awful happy with, but I will explain why. My hot take is I think that North Wilkesboro is going to disappoint a lot of fans this year. And I say this not because I want it to. I am looking forward to it. I think I'm actually going to be pretty happy with the racing, if I do say so myself. But I look at how a very similar racing track to it was received last year with Richmond, and fans were not too happy about it. North Wilkesboro is not Bristol. It is not Martinsville. It's not Bowman Gray or the Coliseum. I think that fans are going to be so hyped up, and such a big deal is going to be made out of this. It's been 30 years, give or take, since this track was raced in any series in NASCAR. And I think that fans are going to overblow it and then get upset when it is not the greatest race we have ever seen. I think I like it. I think it'll be a good race. I just think fans are going to go into it, expecting the greatest race ever.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been certainly hyped up about as much as you possibly can hype up a race. I don't know how it's going to live up to those expectations, but Jared, you and I, we have tickets. We're going.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to get to see either the beauty or the disaster. I don't think it's going to be a disaster. I just think, worst case is it's Richmond, and Richmond's fine.
But also too, some of these younger fans, I don't think they haven't watched too many of these older races at North Wilkesboro. So if you watch any of those older races, you'll know how the race is going to be more than likely.
I'm gonna give the chat a little bit of a fun little thing. We always do polls and stuff on my channel. Let's start with a quick poll. I'll ask them about North Wilkesboro while we go into our next topic. But I'm just gonna ask, do you think North Wilkesboro is gonna be, really good, or do you think it'll disappoint? Like, how do you think North Wilkesboro will be?
I'm curious because I think our live chat is probably skews pretty young. If I had to guess, a lot of teens and 20s-year-olds in the chat.
Yeah.
So I'll be curious. Like a lot of them, none of them grew up, or very few of them, I should say, grew up right watching North Wilkesboro. They've just seen the replays, heard the lore, the stories. Like I'll be curious to see if their perspective.
Well, so have we too. So we're sort of in the same boat as well.
I never. They stopped racing there before. I think
1996. 1996.
Annie was the only one born.
Yeah, I was in diapers.
Well, while we have that poll up right now, let's jump on into the first real major, I won't say topic, there's so many of them, but topics. And that is, we have a huge amount of rule changes this year. Most of them announced yesterday. But the big one, the huge one, is that stage cautions are gone at most road courses, I should say, not all road courses. The end of the stage will still award points, but they're going to keep the race green that way to promote more strategy and to not just basically hand wins or winning strategies to some people while others only get stage points and vice versa, all that. This is the only exception for this is at lower events and standalone events, or standalone events for lower series. Getting tongue-tied here. So I want to ask you guys, and I'm going to start off here. Danny, going into this, how is this going to change road course racing in NASCAR?
It's going to bring the strategy back to it. If you guys recall, before we went to stages, we would just see so much more of these road course races come down to fuel mileage. And I think we're going to see a return to that. Yeah, we'd see some here and there, but I can just recall several Sonoma races under the stage format that would just be seemingly drawn out to ridiculous, gaps. And used to, I would think it would be like that for the old way, but no, I feel like it got worse somehow with the stages, and ultimately it made those things way longer than it needed to be, of how long it takes for, to run pace like there, unless there's an actual need for a caution. And at a road course, they can have local yellows. It doesn't need to be a true full course caution. I think for the timing wise, it's going to work out better for the sport that way too.
Yeah, timing wise, this is great because I'm going to look back at a few of the road course races from last year, like just at a Circuit of the Americas, for example, the total race time was 3 hours and 20 minutes. Like road course racing is already long enough as it is, so it certainly makes sense to definitely cut back on all of these stage cautions for sure. But this is too early to tell right now. But I think fans will love this type of racing so much that it'll eventually convince NASCAR, maybe within the next 2 to 3 seasons, perhaps. Maybe that's what I think personally. That hey, we can do away with stage cautions at every track. We'll see how it goes on road courses, but I have a feeling once fans see the on-track product, once they see a major difference in the types of racing we see on the road courses, the strategy calls and stuff, because finally with the stage cautions gone, we finally get that strategy aspect back again that we hadn't had for a while, ever since the stages have been into NASCAR and stuff. So I like this. I think it's the first step in getting back to I guess older NASCAR, without stages, without
Vintage.
all the cautions and stuff, vintage, I guess you could say.
Yeah. I don't think, like Jared, I know you love polls. I don't think you even need to put a poll out for this one. I know the chat is going to probably unanimously be in support of removing the stage cautions from road courses. I'm not convinced this is actually going to change the wonky stage strategy all that much. Like it'll change it a little. You won't have, the leader, the guy who just dominated a stage, pit with 2 laps to go and forfeit the stage win to have a better track position. Like you're not going to see that necessarily, but like at Sonoma in the past, you'd have some drivers employ a 3-stop strategy, some maybe a 2-stop strategy to try and make it to the end and go for the win. I think now you may see variations on that where some drivers who know they may not have race win pace are going to just try to nab those stage wins. They'll sort of space their pit stops out so that they can be ahead when the stage checkpoint arrives. And so I still think you'll get a little bit of that wonky strategy that'll be a little frustrating. But what I love about this, though, is that for the first time in a few years, I think a lot of these crew chiefs are going to have to dust off their calculators, Larry McReynolds style, and they're going to have a lot of, real-time analysis to do. Hey, can we make it to the stage? Is it worth trying to make it to the stage? Should we pit early, set ourselves? There is still going to be, we can't even really call it stage racing now because there's no, break. It's like checkpoint racing almost is what it is now. We should call them checkpoints. But I think it'll be interesting. I do think it's a move in the right direction, especially for road courses. I just still think we'll see some weird wonky strategies that aren't necessarily just fuel strategy the way we're used to.
Yeah, I think with a lot of it is that if somebody does run that strategy though and cautions don't fly the right way, I do think it'll add at least that little fold. And I think that was a big thing a lot of people thought was missing. I think myself included on that one. And that's where I'm at. I'm very old school when it comes to stages, playoffs, stuff like that. So anything kind of given back in that respect, I am personally ecstatic about. But I think with it also giving points out still, it's the best that both could want. And I if it doesn't have to, if it won't happen at every track, I think at least tracks that are heavy in strategy too. We talked about last year, like a Pocono, maybe a Michigan, Indianapolis. If the oval comes back, that would be, preferable on all fronts. But I got to say, it's a great move that NASCAR has done. And it's, I feel like we've talked about it a lot since we started doing this show, is that every year we've done it, NASCAR just generally, there's steps back here or there, but generally makes better and better and better and better decisions when it comes to the racing, whether it's a car, whether it's procedurally, whether it's anything kind of in that realm. So for me, it makes me excited going into the year, knowing I can look forward to the road courses again for the entirety and hopefully not just a demolition derby.
And what makes this even better is that, this isn't, the old road course schedule with NASCAR where you only race on them, 2-3 times a year. How many road courses do we have again? 7, 8 road course races?
7.
Yeah, so that's a pretty decent chunk of the schedule. That's almost a quarter of the schedule. So, I mean, that's pretty good. So, I don't know. Like, I mean, I would feel a little different about it, if we didn't have as many road course races, because it's like, oh, well, we'll only see this on road courses, 2 or 3 times. We won't see it a whole lot. But, this could definitely, play a major factor into, how the playoffs could shake out too with this, with all these new strategy calls and stuff. And again, I really think the fans are really going to love this type of racing we're going to see. And again, it feels great to finally watch a NASCAR race again, really for the first time since 2016 without having the mandatory cautions in, some of the races this year. That would be a nice change of pace again.
Jared, I love the new graphics package. We got the chat's noticing it as well. Morrow says that the new ticker is moist. I don't know if I like that assessment. It is blue, I guess.
I didn't realize we had Charlie on here.
The ticker do be ticking, though. That's what Need for Speed said. I'm surprised it wasn't a praise Ty Dillon comment. Wasn't that? I think that's
his thing.
His thing last year.
I already saw a super chat that said that. So
you guys are ahead of me.
So actually I did some research. So we have a total of 6 road courses, and then also you have the 1 Chicago street course. So basically 7 road course races, road course / street course races. But that's a good enough chunk of the schedule to where I think this will definitely play a major difference with how fans want the racing to go. I think this is really going to benefit, not only the strategy aspect, but the most importantly the racing aspect.
Yeah, and you talked about playoffs. I mean, there are drivers like Austin Cindric, Chase Briscoe, AJ Allmendinger who may be looking at the road courses as their one and only ticket into the playoffs. Well, so they're important races.
Interesting you mentioned playoffs, because another change that's been brought up is playoff eligibility, which, by the way, just aside really quick. I know that people are hearing me out of one ear. We'll work on that. We'll make it work. Long ear ahead. But
new microphone sounds really crisp. The one ear that I'm getting sounds beautiful.
The 1 year, yeah.
The 1 year.
Well, hopefully I can.
Well, to be fair, actually, to remove the facade, I actually hear you in both ears. So
I do too.
Me too.
Maybe it's an issue through OBS or whatever you're using. I'm not sure, but
I'm working on it.
We'll work on it.
But yeah, playoff eligibility. That's what's coming up here. The playoffs have been edited a little bit again. No longer, no matter what the series, whether it's top 20 or top 30, there's no longer a top 20 or top 30 rule for playoff eligibility. As long as you attempt all the races and you get a win, you're in the playoffs unless there's more winners, which means, hypothetically, that somebody like a Cody Ware or Corey LaJoie, who's outside the top 30 in points, could get a win and make the playoffs.
I was about to say, why does this feel like it's a Corey LaJoie rule?
Yeah. And
is he the good old boy now? Like
we, last season we had, the whole fiasco with, all the parody taking place, which, we love.
Fiasco. I don't know if I'd call it that.
Well, no. Like,
call it chaos.
Yeah, chaos.
No.
But the fiasco part, basically, towards the end of the regular season, remember, there was all these fans saying like, oh my gosh, Ryan Blaney and Martin Truex Jr., they might miss the playoffs, yada, yada, yada. Then Austin Dillon takes over. And now I can't wait for what type of scenario we are going to get, with this new eligibility rule, because like you just said, Cody Ware could just win a super speedway race out of nowhere and just make the playoffs, no matter where he's sitting in points. But you do have to attempt all the races though. So, so I am glad that that's there at least.
The way that NASCAR gives out waivers though, like I feel
like it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
They hand out waivers so much that I feel like, you don't have to really attempt them all if there's a loophole to be exploited or some kind of like reasoning given.
And that the guys who are very, performance, who rely on the road courses and stuff and super speedways, they are going to use this rule to their advantage here. It's like, we gotta worry about it no more.
Well, we got to focus on who does this really affect. So last year, the only drivers, I don't have the points pulled up, but Corey LaJoie was outside the top 30 in points. He almost won that Atlanta race. Cody Ware, I think, did BJ McLeod run all the races last year? I'm not sure if he did. I don't think he is this year.
Think he did.
But like Ty Dillon was inside the top 30. Even Harrison Burton, Todd Gillen were inside the top 30. So there's only a couple of drivers who this really affects. And let's be honest, the odds of Cody Ware winning a race, even Corey LaJoie winning a race, very, very slim. But I just hate this rule because it just do we need to make it even easier to make? There's got to be some sort of standard, right? I understand it would be huge if Rick Ware Racing made it into the top 16. They get a rain shortened win at Daytona, a la Justin Haley a few years ago. I understand that's huge for a small team like that, but like the playoffs, making the playoffs is supposed to be an accomplishment reserved for teams and drivers who really earned it, you know. And
it's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be hard.
It's supposed to be hard. I don't like the idea that a 32nd place team can win a fog shortened race at Pocono and make the playoffs. I just like it's too easy. There's too many. I don't know. I just think it's dumb. I don't understand why they implemented it. It seems pointless.
Really quick to answer the earlier question, BJ McLeod made a total of 29 starts last year. Only one top 10 finish. At least he got a.
I'm actually impressed. I'm actually impressed by that.
I remember he was ahead of Kyle Busch at the fall Martinsville race. Remember that?
Everybody was. I was ahead of Kyle Busch.
Yeah, we were all ahead of Kyle Busch. But it's just crazy that that type of driver and team, they can now make the playoffs with just one fluke victory, with one. I would love to see the playoffs once again become hard to make in NASCAR, but
they are hard. I just feel like there needs to be a standard. Like
they're not as hard as they used to be.
Say Harrison Burton had won a race last year and made the playoffs despite being 29th in points. We would have all kind of rolled our eyes, right? Mm-hmm. Especially considering Blaney and Truex would have both been out at that point in place of Harrison. Like, we would have rolled our eyes. Now imagine, very unlikely, imagine that's Cody Ware in the playoffs and Austin Cindric is out. Or Truex is out, or Harvick is out. Like that's not right. I'm sorry.
I'll go back a bit to what Darian was saying. And granted, last year is an outlier, I think, in this. But I think in the sense of making it, more difficult to make the playoffs or not as easy, I think it's more, it should be framed as not as easy for top tier guys to get in. Like if you're Denny Hamlin and you start out the year bad and you're running like 20th in points with 8 or 9 races to go before the playoffs, I honestly, I don't see how it's fair to be considered a championship contender, and we all know that you're going to be in no matter what since you got a win earlier in the year.
Remember the horrible start Christopher Bell had last year? Was below top 30 in points, and he was able to just, get back up there in no time, too.
And it feels like this rule was made so that anytime anyone is up there at Atlanta or Daytona or Talladega, Mike Joy or Rick Allen doesn't have to say, well, they're out of the top 30 now, so they can't make it, remember.
I think you're right. It is the Corey LaJoy rule, because that run at Atlanta where he almost nabbed the win, it was going to get real awkward if he wins that race and isn't locked in, at least not yet. Like that would have gotten weird. That would have gotten awkward. So that's probably why the rules it's a simplification, which I'm all for simplifying.
But also too, NASCAR doesn't mind having that wild card driver neither.
I know. They're just leaning so hard into the wild.
It makes for good ratings.
I'll put it like this. Looking at last year's standings, so this is the first 3 inside the top 30 or outside the top 30, excuse me. Kurt Busch is 30th, only made 20 starts, but then 31st and 32nd are both Corey LaJoy and Cody Ware with both 36 and 35 starts made. So it's clear NASCAR wants that, they want that wild card driver too, no matter where they are in points, whether it's, 20th or 40th, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. The thing I liked about last year is I felt like all the playoff drivers, everyone who qualified, had a legit shot of making at least to the round of 8, maybe even at least making it to the championship. I mean, Chase Briscoe did not have a good average finish last year, at least going into the playoffs.
Nobody was expecting
his average
him
finish
to do
was
anything.
close to 20th when they started the playoffs, and he made it to the round of 8. So I liked that last year. Everyone who got in, I thought legitimately had a shot to make some noise. With this rule, now you're just begging for that once in a blue moon, that 32nd place car to get in and just waste their time, waste everyone's time. I don't know. We can move on.
Yeah, I mean, there's another big thing. And by the way, I think I know what the issue is, so I should be able to fix it. But another big change is another one having to do with the playoffs, in the sense with the Hail Melon being banned, being enforced by a time penalty, no matter what the track that it is done at or attempted at again is. So yay or nay on the Hail Melon being banned. And I want to kind of put it like this too. I've seen a lot of people comparing it to like the T-Rex car, or comparing it to back when they used to pull the rear fender out, or like right in front of the rear wheel, they used to pull it out for aero reasons, and why that's banned. So, Danny, I want you to start us off on this one. Overall thoughts on the Hail Melon no longer being legal.
I think it makes sense. I mean, was it fun in a moment? Absolutely it was. Did we all get to make a lot of cool content about it? Absolutely, we did. We cashed in. We all did. We're not going to deny that. But it was one of those things. It's like, yeah, after after the high of it kind of wears up, you're like, yeah, we can't have this happening every year when we come to Martinsville now. So I think it was the right call on NASCAR's behalf. I mean, I think I talked to Ross about it at the NASCAR awards, and I mean, I don't think he really intended on doing it again. I think he kind of knew it's only something you get away with one time, and I think they made the right call here.
Yeah, I mean, it'll always be remembered as NASCAR's most viral moment of all time, one of the greatest moments in NASCAR history. But at the end of the day, safety is always going to be the number one priority. And technically, I mean, it did obstruct, sort of the safety of the race to an extent, because I mean, if he hits that little, connecting gate, that's where the haulers come in. I mean, that could have been a much different story. Thankfully, it wasn't. We can look back at that moment so fondly now too. But I mean, it was coming. It was coming. Whether you like the rule or hate the rule, you knew it was gonna come eventually. But my only question with this is, my only main concern is, how does this affect the other tracks? Because obviously, never going to see it at, Martinsville again. But what about Darlington on the final lap? What about a move like the one Kyle Larson made? Does that count as a sort of a Hail Melon move? So it's like now NASCAR sort of opened up that gray area. That's my only concern with that.
Yeah, I know. I wholeheartedly agree with that last point. Is I want to know how it's worded. I didn't see exactly. I know they obviously claimed it's a safety concern.
Because Anthony Alfredo, he even asked himself too earlier today on Twitter. That's why I was like mentioning that, because I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Good point.
Yeah, like what is the rule? You can't like drag the wall. Like you can touch the wall with your quarter panel and still gain a position. That can't be banned, right? Is it like if you're on the wall for more than 100 feet, like for more than 3 seconds? Like what is the actual rule? How is it worded? That I'd like to know. But I don't need to see what Chastain did again. Like I think I said this afterwards, that the next person to do it will be significantly less cool than Chastain's. Like Chastain's move cannot be topped. It can be imitated, but it will just come off as cheaper and more contrived. Like, oh, we've seen that before. We knew where you got that from. You knew who inspired you.
Real original.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't want to run the risk of half a dozen cars ripping the fence on the final corner at Martinsville. There's safety concerns.
And being split open too, like Mike Harmon back in 2002.
I mean, I don't. Hopefully that wouldn't happen, but you just never know when you're completely out of control at a high rate of speed.
Yeah,
imperfect racetrack. So I think it's the right call. And I just think this makes what Ross Chastain did even cooler. And I saw Justin Marks tweeted that Trackhouse is actually going to eat the cost and just keep that car preserved in its final Martinsville form. That move was never successfully done before, and now it will never be done again. One of a kind. I think that's a feather in Ross Chastain's cap for sure.
Yeah, and I gotta say I agree with that as well. I think at the time, I definitely was very anti-changing it, but I think that was simply just because it was such an amazing and cool moment. But looking at the arguments people bring up, it's unavoidable that that's probably one of the most dangerous moves that was still legal that you could do in NASCAR. I hope that it's not turned into a giant judgment call, like we talked about the Larson one. In the Xfinity race, where the guys like him and Gregson, all of them, they were having flat tires and I hope there's at least some nuance to the rule to be like, hey, we're not going to screw people over if it's an iffy kind of thing. But for blatant stuff like what Ross did, I completely get it.
I just have the feeling though that it wouldn't surprise me if this whole if this rule sort of becomes NASCAR's what is the catch rule? You know what I'm saying? Like stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like to where it's like, oh, well, we got to go back to the tape. We have to review this finish. He did touch the wall a little bit there. You know what I mean?
I don't think it'll be done so often that it would be that. Like it's not that often.
But the few times it is done though, I feel like, obviously NASCAR had to put some type of rule in place to make sure it doesn't happen again, but don't overcomplicate this rule though, please.
But another, kind of moving from this, because I feel like we've got a lot out of that. One big thing that's being changed as well this year is the protocols with lost wheels. And so there's 3 different ways that NASCAR is kind of going about this. The first one is on pit road under yellow, you go to the rear of the field. If it's on pit road under the green, you get a pass-through penalty. And if you lose a tire on the racing surface, not on pit road, you get a 2-lap penalty and a 2-race suspension for 2 crew members, but not a crew chief. So, Eric, I want you to start. Is this a fair change for this protocol going into this year compared to what we had in 2022?
Yes and no. So for losing a tire on the racetrack, I think a 2-lap penalty and a 2-race suspension for 2 pit crew members is a good call. Because I think last year it was a 4-race suspension for the crew chief and 2 crew members. That was like, I understand it's a safety concern, but with the new lug nut, single locking lug, it's too easy of a mistake to make. And that seemed like too big of a penalty. Now, for having the tire fall off, sorry, people revving behind me, on pit road, that being just a tail end of the longest line penalty or a pass-through penalty, that seems too light, in my opinion, because at least on the racetrack, there's a catch fence protecting the fans. On pit road, there's not. And not that there's a ton of fans on pit road, but there's a lot of officials, crew members, team representatives, sponsors. And yeah, a car going 40, 50, 60 miles on pit road, not as fast as on the track, but they hit a tire that's loose, that thing's going to go flying. I think could still do some serious damage. So I think it should just be a 2-race suspension, a 2-lap penalty for whenever the tire falls off anywhere. I think they should just simplify it. So I think they got it right for when it happens on the track. I think the pit road penalty is a little too light, in my opinion.
What do you think, Dan?
You're muted, bro. Well, I guess he had a problem. Yeah. All right, he's still muted, but I'll go next. But I have to agree with Eric too. I feel like it's just the whole the light side of the lighter side of the penalty is, in my opinion, the when a tire is lost on pit road and stuff. I don't know. I feel like there needs to be a bigger penalty for that, but I feel like, only a 2-race suspension for 2 crew members. I feel like that's a whole lot fairer though, because what was the old penalty for 4-race suspension, something like that?
And I think for like the crew chief too.
And for the crew chief as well. So I feel like that's a lot fairer as far as that's concerned. But yeah, to Eric's earlier point too, it's like, I just don't want these teams to get lax and stuff, to where it's like, oh, well, I mean, if we do lose a wheel, we'll only have, this much of a penalty, what I mean? Because
obviously they're not trying to lose a wheel, but it's just,
but if you're trying to gain a little bit of an edge on pit lane, then it's like, oh, do you want to tighten it as much?
Did you notice that the number of wheels falling off went down last season as the year went on? Because teams started to catch it. They'd start to wave. They'd be like, "We'll stop."
But also too, they didn't want to have that giant ass penalty neither. Exactly. Too. But now that you've sort of cut it in half to an extent, I mean, obviously in the race, a 2-lap penalty it's awful. I mean, that basically means your race is more than likely finished. But then, only a 2-race suspension for only 2 crew members. I mean, it's not 4, so it's not as much. So I mean, like, are we gonna see because of this rule change, are we now gonna see like an uptick in loose wheels now all of a sudden, or have they learned their lesson, from last year?
I want to give a shout out. I was reading the chat, but I also just saw on Twitter, Doug Rice of PRN said he's tuning in, watching, enjoying the show.
Nice.
Hey.
Wow.
Hey, grew up listening to you in the grandstands at Texas Motor Speedway. So great to have you watching the show tonight. And appreciate everyone tuning in. I looked down, we're at 666 live viewers.
Beautiful. I've seen Doug several times at races. Haven't had a chance to introduce myself, but have to in the future now.
Danny's went into call-in mode right now.
All sorts of technical issues.
I'll be honest with you guys. I don't know what's happened to this microphone. Like it just like short circuit or something. So I have to go to a different audio setting. I apologize for that.
It's all good. It's all good.
It's the first stream of the year. It's a preseason stream. This is
bear with us. At least we're streaming. Last year they couldn't stream down in the middle of nowhere, Florida.
Oh,
last year we were in the swamp house.
The swamp house, and it smelled it was so bad, y'all.
And Blemon, if you're watching, I really apologize if that was your first IRL stream experience with us.
Boy.
But thank you everyone for tuning in. Sorry, Jared, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's all good. I mean, you guys kind of covered the way that I think with it. I think just, kind of moving forward, as long as it is set out from the start and it's not, what bothered me more than anything about loose wheels last year was when it would be lost on the track or there'd be flats or just any of that happened that compounded it, and it would screw drivers over, when it was something that was really just brand new to all of them. I mean, granted, they were able to practice. Yes, I get that. But it's just, as long as it's something like this, it's set out from the start, black and white. I don't see any real issue moving forward with this type of rule. There's only two other things really to cover when it came to any changes to the rules for this year, and these ones we can go kind of quick with these. The damaged vehicle policy and the oval wet weather packages. Two changes that will definitely affect, I think at some point, both of these rules will affect the playoffs and who gets in maybe points-wise. So with the DVP, it's been extended from 6 minutes to 7 minutes. And with the oval wet weather packages, there's going to be wet weather tires used on damp surfaces for select tracks. I believe those are flatter, shorter tracks.
I can list the tracks for you.
Go for it.
So basically, the tracks include the Clash, Martinsville, New Hampshire, North Wilkesboro, Phoenix, Richmond, also IRP, and Milwaukee for this oval wet weather package.
So Bristol noticeably absent, just because I guess, and Dover as well. The concrete higher bank.
Yeah, the
tracks.
higher bank tracks.
You're not gonna make it work.
Yeah, it makes sense because you have to be going a certain amount of speed to stay on the banking. I mean, with these flatter surfaces, it makes a lot of sense.
And then, as we learned in last year's dirt race, they can handle a little bit of water on a track, but not too much.
Not like Watkins Glen.
Physics.
So, I want to pose this question here. With the damaged vehicle policy being moved to 7 minutes instead of 6, is that enough, or should they have kept the move they had in place from the playoffs last year and kept it at 10 instead and just had that be the flat policy throughout the season?
I'd rather have kept it at just 10 because it seemed to have worked for everybody. I mean, I'm old school. I wish they would just go in the garage. If you need to take the whole race to fix it, whatever. If you come out over 300 something laps down, I personally don't care. But I mean, obviously NASCAR doesn't want that anymore. So I would have preferred them just to stay with the 10-minute damage vehicle policy. But hey, 7's more time than 6, I guess. So it's better than 6 minutes. But yeah. I would prefer 10 minutes more.
I agree with you, Darian. The one thing I will say that I'm looking forward to is what I read is that the reason it's 7 minutes now is because NASCAR found that it takes about 6.5 minutes to replace a toe link, which we saw come up many times last year. So I am sort of looking forward to the teams being like, okay, we broke a toe link. Get ready. We got 7 minutes. We got to make the most of every second to fix that, get that replaced. So that element of competition will be interesting. But yeah, in my perfect world, like you said, Darian, I'd rather them just do away with it.
Yeah.
Go to the garage if you want to.
I miss seeing those messed up cars on track just way off the pace, man. I miss those.
Yeah.
Well, just think our good friends at Lionel Racing, they just made a lot of money here recently on a Dale Jr. car that was all destroyed and all broke up. Can't have that anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I put a poll up, and it's far and away 10 minutes is winning. I didn't put none because I figured that would win, but apparently just the highest one possible would.
Yeah.
But I will say this, the problem I have with 7 with the whole toe link one is that it still counts the pit road time, correct? It doesn't count when they get in the box. It counts when they get on pit road. That's the penalty.
That's a difference.
So
yeah,
so it's are you telling me where a lot of these would happen, which are probably bigger racetracks? You're telling me they're going to get through pit road, to the stall, stopped, crew over, finished up, car down, out of pit road. You're telling me that that extra 30 seconds will be enough to get past a Michigan pit road, a Talladega, a Daytona,
Indianapolis road course.
Indianapolis is done. You're done.
That was the first thing. That was the first thing I thought about. I'm like, no, you're not getting your car repaired in time.
I feel like, and then if 10 is a playoff rule or something like that, I feel like leaving it at 10 if you're going to have it at all is the right option.
Yeah,
I agree. That's what I would do too. I think it just makes sense to do 10.
Well,
That's a lot of rules changes.
Yeah.
Is that
Information
was that
overload.
everything? Was that everything? Was that all the rules changes?
We didn't talk
Are
about the
sure?
Riley Herbst rule, the little orange box or whatever that's been added. We can just skip past that. But
Yeah, I think we're
we're
good
naming
going
every
past
rule
it.
after different drivers. Today.
Yeah.
Corey LaJoy rule.
The Ross Chastain.
Hey, dude,
rule.
your driver was the one that started that trend.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
Loud
Well,
and proud.
Let's go on to the next big order of business that has been talked about a ton this offseason, and that is that Kevin Harvick is retiring. Kevin Harvick will retire at the end of the season. Yes, our chat, which are enormous Kevin Harvick fans, will love.
Huge fans, huge.
So I'm gonna pass this over to you, Darian, to start off with. With Kevin Harvick retiring, how is he going to perform this season? It's his last year. Is he extra motivated? Like how does 2023 forecast for the 4 team?
Statistically speaking, drivers, the way they perform in their song seasons would suggest that Harvick may be in for a rough season, just based off of history. I mean, look back at, Darrell Waltrip, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Tony Stewart. I mean, Matt Kenseth, he was all right. I mean, but he was certainly on the
He was
downward
bad in the
trend.
42. He was good in the 20, bad in the 42.
Oh, I was just talking about the 20. We don't even talk about the 42. We don't even talk about the 42 no more.
I like you, Darian.
That don't count.
Agree.
We don't talk about 2020 at all.
Yeah, but basically, you look back on, a lot of these drivers' final seasons. I mean, really, Rusty Wallace and Jeff Gordon are really the only 2 drivers that come to mind where it's like, oh, in their final years, they were really performing up to par, like.
And didn't Rusty say later he wished he'd kept going?
Yeah, and Rusty wishes he didn't even retire neither. I mean,
he was good.
So Kevin Harvick, I feel like, we'll see somewhere, we'll see like a hybrid season somewhere in the middle of, like
you can't say hybrid to a NASCAR audience. They lose their mind.
That's right. But no, basically a hybrid season for Kevin Harvick to me would be somewhere along the lines of a mixture of his 2021 season and 2020. So like, I feel like,
whoa, 2020, he won 9 races.
Well, hold on. Hybrid. That's what I'm saying. Hybrid. So, you have the best and the worst, right? Give me a second. Give me a second. So I feel like though, when you put those 2 seasons together, I feel like I don't see him winning any races, but I do still see him performing, well enough to at least still be in the playoff conversation. But with the new rule and stuff where, it now doesn't matter where you are in points, could we have another parity filled season and he misses it based on points? You know what I mean?
So that sounds a lot more like his 2021 season than his 2020 season. That's the only
But I mean, he is going to come close to winning some races.
He's going to come really close to winning 9 races, but he's not going to get any of them.
Oh, wait, hold on. I'm sorry. No, my bad. 2021 and 2022 seasons.
Oh,
yeah,
it's way
like,
more sense. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I looked at it wrong. I thought the 0 was in the 2020. That's right. He won 9 races that year.
You're good.
All right, so 2021 to 2022. My bad.
Okay, I agree with that. So I wholeheartedly agree. I do think Harvick
you were
will
right
make the
to call
playoffs.
me out. You were right to call me out.
Well, I just wanted to just make that correction, but you're totally good. No, I think Harvick will make the playoffs, though. I think he'll win a race or 2. You mentioned other drivers, farewell tour seasons. Yeah, historically, they don't go great. Recently, Jimmy Johnson missed the playoffs in his final year. Dale Jr. missed the playoffs in his final year. Stewart was going to miss the playoffs until he, knocked Hamlin out of the way. Hamlin kind of gave him that win at Sonoma. I don't know what he was doing. Jeff Gordon is the benchmark in recent history. He won a race late in the season, of course, and got some help from Kenseth, Reck, and Logano. But Jeff Gordon won a race and actually made it to the championship 4 in his final season. I don't think Harvick gets to Phoenix. I don't think he's in contention for a championship, but I expect him to win a race or 2. I expect him to make the playoffs, at least the round of 12. I think he's going to have a very solid, a very respectable season. I'm curious to see if Stuart Haas makes any gains. You bring Ryan Preece over. I know he's young, still relatively inexperienced in a cup car, but can he bring any information or maybe a new culture, some level of leadership that maybe Cole Custer wasn't? Can that improve SHR? Every manufacturer's changed the front ends. The body has changed for every single car. Does that even the playing field? Does that give Ford maybe a slight advantage even? That's what I'm curious. He's still working with Rodney Childers. They've even brought some new sponsorship over with Sunny D for a couple of races. I think Harvick's going to go out solid. I don't think he's going to win the championship, but I think he's going to have a very solid year. It'll look a lot more like 2022 than 2021.
Yeah.
Well,
not gonna win 9 races.
Looking at what the chat thinks, I asked in a poll how many wins Harvick will have in 2023. 17% of them say he's going to go winless. only 8% say 3+, 28% with 2, but almost the majority, 47%, so just under half, say that he's only getting 1 win this season, which is about, well, now it's 48%, which is about on brand for how he was performing last year. What I want to ask now is another question, and if everything is going all right with Danny, I want to see what he thinks about what the legacy of Happy is going to be.
The legacy of Kevin Harvick will be one that was uniquely his own. Yeah, he was forced into an predictable circumstance of having to replace the Intimidator, but he made it his own. Went out and won a Daytona 500, the 07 500. He won a championship in 2014. All of this coming in his days as a Chevy driver. The Ford years had its ups and had its downs for sure. But in the end, he was a key part of this generation of drivers and this generation of fans, and by all means, a Hall of Fame driver one day.
Absolutely. I pulled it up just to double check, but he is currently tied for 9th on the all-time Cup Series win list with Kyle Busch, interestingly enough, 60 wins. There are not a lot of drivers who can say they came anywhere close to that mark. And to echo what you said, Danny, obviously entered the Cup Series under tumultuous circumstances. I think handled it as well as any young driver could. Winning just a couple weeks later at Atlanta was just a huge, I think for many people was a healing moment for the sport. Got some weight off of his shoulders. But at the same time, I think there's a lot of what ifs with Kevin Harvick's career. No disrespect to Richard Childress or his time in the 29, but to see how he flipped a switch seemingly when he got to Stewart-Haas in 2014, the second half of his career, like what if he'd been in that type of equipment for his entire career? Could he have gone toe to toe with Jimmy Johnson? I'm not saying he would have won 7 titles, but I think he'd have more than one, safe to say. I'm shocked he only has one, to be honest. He's been to the championship for like 5 times. Law of averages says he should probably have a second one by now. But I can't help but think about that. Kevin Harvick, first ballot Hall of Famer, all-time great. He's done things in the past I didn't love. He got into it with Matt Kenseth in a Busch race back in like 2002, 2003, I think.
2002.
Didn't love what happened at Talladega in 2015 when he wrecked Trevor Bayne to save his playoff spot. Like there are warts involved in Kevin Harvick's career, but too many highs to ignore. All-time great race car driver, and he's going to be around for a long time. Just help, was part of the team that bought the Cars Tour. Kevin Harvick Incorporated manages several Top Cup and Xfinity drivers. His son Keelan, his racing career seems to be taking off. He's got a daughter who it sounds like is interested in racing. So Kevin Harvick will be around for many years to come, especially when he steps into that Fox booth next year.
Look, Kevin Harvick's legacy to me, he aged like fine wine. He came along later on, much later on in his NASCAR Cup Series career, but also too, I mean, you have to look at his other stats in Xfinity and trucks as well. I mean, sure, you want to bring up, 60 career Cup Series victories. Don't forget 47 career Xfinity Series victories. And let's not forget his stranglehold on the 2006 season, one of the most dominating seasons in all of that series history. And of course, in the Truck Series, he ran his own team for a very long time, also won a total of 14 career NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series races. Oh, it feels so good to say Craftsman again. But all in all, when you combine all those, I mean, obviously, well over 100 victories across all 3 series. Actually, if I want to do some quick math, I believe that is 121 victories across all 3 series. 60 plus 47 plus 14, right? Is that 121? I think it is. But I'll have to look it up again. It is? Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Matt,
did
get
it
the
all in my
calculator
head.
out.
Did it all in my head, bro. I
Wow.
swear, I did all in my head.
Third grade math
Nice.
teacher is proud.
Thank you.
Damn, you didn't have to diss him.
Sorry, Darren. Very good.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms.
That's hard.
Hoffmeyer.
Hey, it's hard to do math in front of 700 people. Like that's pressure.
Yeah. Remember, I got to do all the scrolling and stuff. But obviously, he was a guy who replaced another driver with a much bigger legacy. Obviously, had the way of it had the weight of the world on his shoulders, and was still able to persevere and create his own legacy. I mean, Eric had mentioned it, when he was talking about him. I mean, obviously, that'll be one of the major what ifs, of course. What if he started his, career instead of with like a Hendrick Motorsport or, another team like that? But also, I mean, you could also make the case maybe he might have squandered those opportunities because he was a hothead in these days, and especially in those early days. Hey, you never know. It was sort of like sort of like Kyle Busch was in his early days as well. But then obviously he persevered, matured as the years went along, and as soon as he joined Stewart-Haas, his career just skyrocketed, man, just elevated to a first ballot Hall of Fame career. Because before joining that, I mean, I don't know, you couldn't really make the case for Kevin Harvick being a first ballot Hall of Famer, in my opinion. Before that, but obviously, fast forward all these years later, he's about to enter his song season, finishing his career. By the end of the season, he'll have over 800 starts and will at least have 60 victories and a Cup Series championship. The only thing, though, I wish he would have won multiple championships. That's the only thing, too. I feel like, it's like you make the Final Four, so many times, like Eric just mentioned, you're expected to win at least one more. But, with how chaotic this playoff system can be sometimes, maybe it's not a crutch in some fans' minds, but yeah.
Where I see Harvick's legacy, in my opinion, and maybe this is me as a jaded Dale Jr. fan, he's like, even if the stats don't show it, just because of how flashy he was, it feels like he is like the most clutch driver in at least the last 25 years. I mean, he didn't get the closer for no reason. If he just, I think that name really started to stick when he beat Mark Martin for the 500. But as a jaded Dale Jr. fan, over and over and over again, watching him beat my driver, especially twice in 2011 at the last lap or laps, it is etched into my brain that if Kevin Harvick is second, no matter how far back, he will find a way to win. And for me, that's at least how I'm remembering Kevin Harvick. Like, Harvick is that guy who can run, third with 2 to go, pass Kyle Busch, and then push Jimmy Johnson 10 miles an hour faster into a corner and beat him at his height. So that's how I'm going to remember Kevin Harvick, because, I mean, some of the most flashy, interesting, fun wins in NASCAR history came from Kevin Harvick having to come back right at the last second.
I'll remember Kevin Harvick as the guy who simply did not give a bleep what you thought about him or anybody for that matter. Just did his own thing, man, and it worked out. It's going to be in the Hall of Fame.
He still doesn't. He'll just always tell it how it is.
Yeah. Now, moving on from that, we're going to go to one last story before we get to our first Super Chat stage break and the first of many this year of the Lightning Round. And we'll be brief on this because there's pretty much no big news coming out yet. It's something that we're going to have to watch through the season, and that is the TV rights and basically the future of NASCAR and how we're going to watch it in the next couple of years. So at the moment, looking most likely to come back is Fox and NBC. They also get the first dibs on the negotiation, which I think has already started and then ends in March, though they're probably not going to get a deal done by then. ESPN has shown interest, and they have a lot of racing on their networks now with F1 and the newly acquired SRX on Thursday nights.
Thursday Night Thunder.
Interestingly enough, is out of NASCAR's way now, which I'm sure NASCAR is definitely a bit happier about. But then also Amazon has jumped in as a streaming option, possibly. So that might throw a bit of a wild card in there. Now the teams are a bit more positive than they were at the end of last year, especially since there were drivers throwing stuff out into the public. But the RTA has talked about having an off-season exhibition series, talking about 16 to 18 million per car. So more money is wanted from this and making the charter system permanent in all of this as well. So I guess moving into it, and Danny, I'll start with you on this. Moving into the year when it comes to, basically figuring out after 2024 what's going to happen, who do you think they're going to go with, I think is the big question, as well as what changes to the sport, whether it's on the screen, behind the scenes, whatever it might be that we would be interested in, could there be?
I don't necessarily know if ESPN is going to join. I can tell you this, though, from one of my more recent videos where I talked about NASCAR and ESPN's history, a lot of fans do not seem to want them to come back, mostly because of the way that they've looked at and treated NASCAR in recent years, and that's to be understood. I I don't know if NBC wants it in the long run, though. There have been mixed reports that, they're, ultimately dropping to NBC Sports Network and going to USA, had a lot to do with, what happens with their NASCAR coverage moving forward. And I wouldn't be surprised if they go away. And I also wouldn't be surprised if ESPN does do it. I don't necessarily know if they will. I think Fox ultimately, though, will stick around, but that's my thoughts.
I feel like, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, well, my bad. I do think Fox and NBC are the front runners. I'll be curious to see what happens with streaming. Amazon's got a lot of money they can throw around, but I think NASCAR ultimately is going to steer more towards the traditional networks just because, being on big Fox, being on big NBC, NASCAR still is an older fan base. Most of their viewership is going to tune into those traditional channels, and the teams, when they sell sponsorship, if the ratings go from 3 or 4 million viewers per race to 800,000 because it's on Peacock, the teams won't be happy because now sponsors will not be paying them nearly as much money. So there's a lot of give and take. I think NASCAR is going to lean towards Fox and NBC, but there's two different debates happening simultaneously. There's the negotiations with potential media companies about a new TV deal, but meanwhile, NASCAR is working with the teams, as you were mentioning, Jarrett, to determine how the next media deal will be split. The teams want basically double as much money as they've been getting the last 10 years. And NASCAR sounds like they may be willing to cave a little bit, give them close to what they want in exchange for, maybe a spending cap, promises that they're not going to spend absurd amounts of money in the future. Like there's a lot of moving parts. It sounds like over the past few weeks, I think this was Sports Business Journal, Adam Stern, John Oran writing about it. It sounds like things have progressed a little bit. And maybe in the next few weeks, few months, we'll start to see some serious headway. But right now, I think it's just still early in the process. I think one of the reports I read, it might've been Sports Business Journal, was that it's unlikely a TV deal gets reached until like maybe September or October of this year. So it's going to go on for months.
Yeah,
Well,
it'll certainly be a while.
Yeah, that's about how it worked in like the current deal is, maybe it's a year past, I would say, compared to how that one was worked out, but they had that deal worked out by late 2012, early 2013. So, and that deal ended, the previous deal had ended in 2014. So I wouldn't be surprised if it takes that long, which, by the way, just an aside here, I finally did fix the mic. So,
Woo! Nice.
This will be a one episode thing. This is not going to be an overarching, character arc this season.
Hopefully mine doesn't give me any issues. My mic is back working, but my actual webcam went off, so now I'm using the one that's in the laptop. At least it's not too bad looking.
Oh, you look good. You look good.
Yeah, you look fine.
Darian, you wanted to give kind of your thoughts. I want to tee you off with this really quick. I've asked in the chat what they want, and they said who do you want NASCAR to go with for their new TV rights? 40% say Fox, NBC, and Amazon, all three. 39% leave Amazon out but have those two. No, it's a tie between them now, back and forth. And 11% say NBC, ESPN, and 9% say Fox, ESPN.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me that, those two are sort of neck and neck. I mean, like, obviously Fox and NBC, they've been covering NASCAR for quite some time, especially Fox. And Fox, they've even said publicly, like, look, like, we really want NASCAR back. I mean, it feels as, gives us, a lot of sports content, during the NFL off season, that sort of thing, during the spring, during the summer, that sort of stuff. And obviously they covered the entire Truck Series season for the entire season. So, but as far as NBC, yeah, I mean, I would love to have them back as well. I feel like they've been the gold standard for quite some time when it comes to NASCAR broadcasting. Not perfect, but compared to Fox, I'll certainly take them over that. Now I do understand some people feeling some type of way about, Amazon's coming in, blah blah blah. We might have to, have some races behind the paywall. I'm gonna be honest, that's just the way that some of these other sports are going. I mean, just look at the NFL. They were, had their Thursday night football games on Amazon Prime, and they shattered, expectations. So
there's been a percentage of fans calling for their an own NASCAR network, even
but then that's sort of risky. I mean, because when you take a look at other, like WWE, for example, they had their own network for a while and sort of shut down or whatever. But yeah, I mean, a perfect case scenario, in my opinion, would be a deal where you bring back Fox and NBC, so at least the fan base will have that sort of familiarity with its broadcast partners, so we don't have to go through this whole transition period. compared to other TV deals. And at the same time, sort of usher in the new era of streaming and somehow ink a deal with Amazon Prime somehow. I don't know how. I mean, the NFL did it with its other TV partners, so I'm sure NASCAR can sort of work something out.
So here's something that when I was looking back, because I'm a nerd for some of this kind of stuff, and one thing that I noticed looking back was that pre 2001, it was the tracks working out the deal, so there was no consistency whatsoever. Then 01 to 06, it was consistent with Fox as well as NBC Turner Broadcasting. You had Fox, Turner, and ESPN, and then what you have now with Fox NBC. If what the reports at the moment, the likelihood, and it has for a couple months pointed to Fox and NBC renewing, and now again it depends on if they put many on Peacock versus if they leave it NBC USA. I mean, other series like IndyCar and IMSA are getting more NBC races than NASCAR. And I think that's just a result of an outdated contract. So there might be even more on Big Fox and Big NBC since cable is becoming obsolete even compared to broadcast television anymore. What I'm getting at with this is, for the first time ever, if this deal is signed with just those two, it'll be the first time that NASCAR has had all the networks, whether 2 or 3, be continuous from one contract to the next. And if it is 8 or like being estimated 10 years, it means that NASCAR will have 20 years of stability while they've reached that bottom out and are starting to build up their fan base again. So the fact that that could happen is huge, I think, for the future of the sport. And I think that it's something a lot of fans may be overlooking going into it. I mean, I would not have thought leaving 2014 that the next time a possible change in broadcasters could come would be 2035. I mean, when you put it in those terms, it's pretty crazy to think about.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
That's good that NASCAR at least has that going for them. I know some of the fans, I mean, they want, like, oh, we want a, brand new television partner, but, you just brought up that, that whole, consistency factor too. I mean, that's at least a good thing for NASCAR, to have the same television partners for 20 plus years. I'm not sure. I mean, especially nowadays, like, a whole lot of sports, like can't really say that nowadays, I don't think.
It's just tough. They're going to have to balance the modern streaming and future streaming audience versus the existing cable and network TV audience. It's just tricky because I don't know many people my age who pay for cable who get USA and Fox Sports 1.
Yeah.
But they might be willing to pay $5-10 a month for Peacock so they can watch The Office and maybe check out that NASCAR thing once a week. Like it's tricky. It is tricky because you don't want to put everything on streaming right away. That'll destroy your base,
especially with a fan base like NASCAR.
You got to gradually phase it in. That has to be worked in. If it's 2030 and we're still only on USA and NBC, I feel like something will have gone wrong. That's
now. I want to ask each of y'all this. Now, if the deal with Amazon were to be worked out, how do you think it would go? Like, how do you think the deal would go? Do you think like they would do like maybe like something like maybe 3 to 6 Cup Series races, a season?
I think the only way is if you work with Fox and NBC aren't going to give up their dates with it. The only way I can think it works is if you get a deal worked out with them. Because, I mean, if you look at the way that the NFL did it with Amazon, that was like revolutionary. No other sport has even come close to that. The way I would think is that maybe NBC and Fox can work out a deal, and maybe they get the television, the commercials. Amazon could get a pay to play commercial free, and maybe have just NASCAR's own people that may work for the company. Maybe that would work. I don't see how, because after Thursday Night Football started out better this year and ended out averaging 2 to 3 million less. So cut their audience like by about a third.
The Thursday Night Football games kind of garbage this year, though. Did they?
Some of them were, yeah.
But so were some of the primetime, like Sunday night and Monday night ones, and those ones were up in ratings. So
yeah,
because I feel like where we're at with streaming in general, I think with the streaming war, you're going to lose out regardless on viewers. Because I'm sorry, I'm not paying for, as a NASCAR fan, I'm going to pay to get USA right now on FS1. I'm paying, give or take like $70 for YouTube TV to get all the sports stuff I want. I'm not going to spend a bunch of extra money if I don't have to. I'm lucky enough to have Amazon for free because my girlfriend's TV comes with it, but not everybody
Wonderful.
is. So
Yeah.
that's where my worry with it is. I mean, if you want to look at it compared to cable, it honestly is a better option. I think 160 million have Amazon Prime compared to like 90 million have FS1, 90 million have ESPN, 80 million have USA. So if you look at it like that, it might do better than the cable races. So maybe that might be the only way you can do it. I mean, if we're talking streaming to Peacock though, or whatever Fox will use, though, I'm a no-go. Amazon's the only way I could be for streaming.
Because I would be very disappointed if a streaming deal is worked out, but then like that provider would be like either like Peacock or like Fox Sports Go. Like I'd be very disappointed with that because I've used both of their platforms, and
Peacock's buggy. It's really buggy.
Peacock's very buggy. NBC Sports streaming app is very buggy as well, and then sometimes Fox Sports Go can be buggy. But I mean, Amazon, everybody's on there. Everybody's on Amazon. Everybody knows Amazon Prime. Everybody knows how well Thursday Night Football worked out there.
I can watch a NASCAR race and then watch the new episode of The Boys.
Yeah, there you go. It would be interesting to
and then buy something with 2-day shipping.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. It would be very interesting to me because you had mentioned like, oh, like who would be, like would NASCAR have their own production team? I would like to see them do that, to have their own production team, help out with the whole Amazon Prime effort and stuff. And then, NASCAR fans have been talking about for years, for a while now. Look at Formula One's coverage, commercial free. I mean, they could do something similar on that on Amazon Prime. And I mean, I don't know how much it would be initially, but I would certainly pay, how much, how much, however it takes or whatever, how much it costs to watch that type of program.
I mean, as a hardcore, it would definitely have to be something for hardcore fans. But
yeah,
we're talking about streaming and all, and we could talk about this all night. I think we until we get any more info, there's not much more to go on it. But we are currently streaming on here, and we have plenty of hardcore fans at home, and a lot of them have left what they've thought. So, guys, how about we get their thoughts on the matter for tonight? Let's go into some super chats here. Go our first super chat stage break. Somebody time me at home. We're not putting a timer on screen for this one.
I got you.
If we want to go over, we'll go over. Damn it. But let me go back here all the way to 4:04 in the afternoon, literally 4 minutes after I put this thing up. Jesus gave me a super chat. For $4.99.
Thank you.
And he said, "Let's all start the evening by thanking Tom Brady for a historic career. I will miss seeing my child on the field. Second, I am again searching for Ty Gibbs." Oh man. We got a lot of Jar Jar ones. I'm not gonna read it in Jar Jar voice, but I'll read it. Misa gonna miss you, Tom. Thank Yusa for everything. Misa moi moi happy doo-doo head Harvick Isa gone. Well, not this year.
No, there it is. There it is.
And then says thank Yusa Harvick for giving Wisa all someone to strive not to be like. Damn.
Wow.
Harsh.
We warned y'all. The chat loves Kevin Harvick.
Yeah.
Adam Smith, thank you for the 279 Canadian. You can now make the playoffs with only 65 points.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Some more, Jar Jar is doing Harvick Isagon dances. That's something. Antar Das, thank you for the $9.99. New year, new stories. Tom Brady is gone now. Harvick is going to be gone. The last 5 years are seeing my childhood heroes retire. Also, I accept that what can go wrong will go wrong for a certain driver. Isaac says, missed this show in the off season. Excited for another great season of racing and podcasting. Also, rest in peace, Chris Schaefer. I believe from how do you say it? Schefferless YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Oh, Schaeferless YouTube channel. It was his brother.
And he followed me.
And he said he's he's actually he was a big Jeff Burton fan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's very sad.
Let's see. More Harvick hate from Jar Jar. At least we know something's very consistent year to year. Double and then 0-0 music for 5. Guess who's back? Back again. NWP is back. Tell a friend. Guess who's back? Guess who's back?
Guess who's back? Guess who's back?
Beautiful singing voice.
Yes, very, very much. Alex, thank you for the 2. The Hail Melon car would be a good addition in the Hall of Fame. I agree with that.
Yeah,
Yes,
I agree.
yes, I would.
Keep it there.
I would love to see that car in person. Alex, thank you for the 10. Hi, everyone. Here's hoping for a good and safe season. And here's hoping that NBC will play Metallica's Fuel for their TV intro. That blues song just doesn't hype me up. Yeah, I had said that in a much more crass way last year, but I agree. I think at least for one race they should bring it back. I mean, if you're going to celebrate the 75-year history of the sport, bring back some of that history you made. Eric W., thank you for the 10. Just because that's how much a beer costs now. Oh, good one. Good one.
That's 3 minutes, by the way. On the note of that previous super chat, I remember when a bunch of us were at Indianapolis a couple years ago, and they played Fuel while the cars were doing their pace laps over the PA system. And we were into it. That
was a video of us headbanging when my hair was going everywhere.
Yeah, I think I posted that. Yeah,
yeah, it's out
Good
there.
time.
It's out there because everyone's like, "Wow, Jarrett, can do that."
You had more hair back then, I think, Jarrett. Yeah.
Well, that's when I grew it out for like 13 months, and then the season ended, and I'm like, "Nope, I'm done."
We're done.
I got a Peaky Blinders haircut now instead. So
Good times. Good
times.
A lot of folks in the chat have been wondering who this person on the upper left is. So they just don't recognize you without the facial hair.
Oh yeah, that's right. This is their first
don't
time
have the
seeing
Winston
you like that.
Cup hat on.
That's right.
I got an old Bud hat. I guess
Yeah, it's close enough.
Wow.
It's still red.
Oh wow, we got another one. Really quick. I'm gonna read this one, and then we'll head into the lightning round. But from Dislocation for a Fitty. 2 things. One is that I think they need to get rid of stage cautions at all tracks, make races go faster. I mean, that is true. Generally, it would. Also, Amazon Prime, I think, is a must, in my opinion. Idea of mine is that advertise diecasts and also more ways to get NASCAR products onto Amazon. I mean, if it's on the Amazon front page, people are more likely to get it.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
NASCAR style is a thing. I was at the mall the other day, and I think I went into one of those, I think it was like Lids or something, one of those like sports stores.
They got NASCAR merch there.
They got dozens of Cowboys jerseys and NFL and NBA jerseys, and then they had some Jeff Gordon jackets and some Kyle Busch M&M's jackets. I was blown away. I did not expect that. So yeah, NASCAR, the commercialization of NASCAR memorabilia is very much a thing in the mainstream.
These hype beasts, man. They look for
I feel like it's more like just some of the flashy logos. I think that's all the look they're going for.
I'm just saying, if people are buying it, if it's moving money, if it's products moving, take advantage of it. I'm just saying.
Well, Darian, we've went through a lot tonight, but there's something else coming up. What do we got coming up here?
Yes, it's a new era indeed. Now, I said this on my stream last night. Obviously, we're still going to do the lightning round. No more peeking out the mic, however, though. No more peeking out the mic. Got too many complaints, and obviously,
why'd you move it so close to you? Then you're just gonna
because
I like it there.
It'll make sense. It'll make sense. But yeah, so basically, this new era of the lightning round of the NASCAR Weekly Podcast is going to be said with my radio voice. So let's get ready. And it's the lightning round on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. Jarrett, what do we have on tap for tonight?
Well, let's see. Starting off with something that I actually had just been sent to me a little bit ago. Apparently, there's supposed to be news on the IndyCar game tomorrow, but apparently there's news on the future overall by Friday of motorsport games and any properties with it. So for any NASCAR gaming fans or, anyone else
those
who's
are still
interested,
around.
Yes, apparently. Yeah. I mean, they don't work, but
just haven't had much to celebrate in recent years, unfortunately.
We got some pretty good Crash compilations. And if we're talking Crash, I mean crashing streams because of the game, but anyway,
definitely Crash for sure.
Yeah, to some other NASCAR news here. Starting off with, it's going to be a weird year for one big reason. The 18 car is, it's still there, but the 18 number is gone. It's going to be the 54 car for Ty Gibbs.
That's going to take some getting used to. Not seeing the 18 Because, dude, when Joe Gibbs Racing first entered NASCAR, first car, the 18.
Yeah, there's
crazy.
that. It's like it's weird because the 18 is a Joe Gibbs number. The 54 was originally a Kyle Busch number, but like somehow over the course of history, the 54 became less of a Kyle Busch thing, and the 18 became Busch's brand. So
Joe Gibbs said, "Not only are you not going to get your ride back, Kyle Busch, we're going to take your old number too. Your 54, the number you made famous."
Well, other than that, there's still some other big stuff. Starting off with is NASCAR is looking at launching an international series in Brazil as a sprint racing series, like just short races, that it will eventually race on oval tracks.
Yeah, that was big news. That's very interesting.
Very interesting indeed.
I can say that there is actually a relatively big segment of fans that listen to this show and watch that are from Brazil. I was
digging through my YouTube analytics the other day. And Brazil was like the fourth most like of all the countries that watch my videos, Brazil was like number 4. I was very surprised.
Dude, they do, whether it's NASCAR, F1, IndyCar, they love their racing in Brazil.
It's pretty big there compared to other countries. Another big news for fans in the South, not as South as Brazil, but the South, is that Rockingham has been repaved, and they are actively working to try and get NASCAR back in any form whatsoever. Also, looking at some of the lineups, Darian talked about it a little bit earlier, but the other ones for the Xfinity Series for JGR will be Ryan Truex for 6 races in the 19. It's going to be really interesting to compare the drivers in the 19 stats to each other.
I can't wait.
Gee, I wonder why.
Sammy Smith in the 18 full-time, which I'm big on Sammy Smith. I think he's going to be pretty good. And then John Hunter Nemechek full-time in the 20. The 20 is now back in the Xfinity Series. There was
a lot of talk about, a lot of rumors, especially, with Kyle Busch leaving last year, like, oh, he might be the replacement. But hey, this is the next best opportunity. So.
Some other stuff that's been kind of thrown around and tested is mufflers. Hopefully that we didn't just lose half our audience from the word being muttered. But there are mufflers being tested at Phoenix. They're for the Clash and the Chicago Street Course, and possibly, if it works out, the Nashville Fairgrounds.
Yeah, if you listened to any of those or watched any of the clips from that test last week, it doesn't sound that different. I think some said maybe it sounds a little deeper, like the tone of the cars.
Yes.
But, it will make a difference, especially in those urban areas and especially at Nashville Fairgrounds where we've talked about it. The locals, I think they're going to need some sort of mufflage.
It's too loud. It's too loud. It's too loud, guys.
Well, speaking of some different tracks and scheduling wise, one of the biggest ones is this. I want to bring the chat back up to a level they'll be happy with. After talking about something I guarantee they don't like. But we'll talk about something they don't like in a good way, in the sense that the Texas race, one lone race this season that is in the playoffs, is listed as a 400-mile race instead of 500 this September. So
yeah, somehow I missed that when looking through the initial thing, but yeah,
thank goodness.
Just a couple years ago, Texas had a total of 1,000 miles on the Cup schedule.
That's ridiculous.
Down to 400, just like that. I mean, can't say they don't deserve it, but man, how the mighty have fallen.
It's going to be really interesting to see what the reconfiguration does to the racing overall. So that'll be interesting to look at. A few other things here. We can roll through these pretty quick here. First off, Fox Sports will not have Vince Welch this season. He has left Fox Sports going into the year. And it went way under the radar that he's being replaced with Adam Alexander.
That should have been made a bigger deal. That's a much bigger deal than... he's not it out to be.
Adam Alexander is not Mike Joy, but he is still a very solid commentator.
He's not terrible.
I am sad to see Vince Welch did not like him in the truck booth, but he's a great pit reporter. Someone who makes the drivers comfortable. Everyone knows him. And so to see him go, it sounds like Fox is just going cheaper. I mean, they got like Josh Sims is his name. Dylan Welch is with NBC. They have I'm forgetting who else. There's a couple other folks at Fox that are pretty young, that have been doing a pretty good job. And I just think it's as simple as that. I mean,
cutting costs.
Vince Welch has been around a long time, really experienced veteran, but they got some new younger talent that they're ready to shine, I guess. Just the nature, unfortunately.
Looking at some of these others here, Hendrick Motorsports will be running the Xfinity 17 for 4 races in 2023. Andretti as a team is looking to get into NASCAR in the coming years.
Hey, Lord knows F1's trying to keep them out. That's a whole nother topic.
NASCAR's Euro Ice race that was looking to be run has been postponed indefinitely due to supply chain issues. That sucks to see.
Yeah, that sucks.
But the NASCAR Garage 56 entry, that doesn't suck to see, is Jimmy Johnson, Jenson Button, and Mike Rockenfeller are going to be driving that car with headlights. It has headlights.
Got the 7-time champion, and then you got a world F1 champion in that ride too.
Was anyone surprised? It sounds like a lot of folks were convinced Jeff Gordon was going to be one of the 3 drivers.
Yeah, I thought he was too.
Jeff ain't in shape anymore.
But like, I don't. Did he like? You wonder if that Indy race he ran last fall, if that was sort of like the moment of like, dang. Like it's kind of sad. I don't mean to gloss over it. Yeah, but I like this is a legend of NASCAR who a few months ago, maybe for the final time, realized, shoot, I just can't do this anymore, even if I wanted to. Like that's kind of sad. Like respect to him for the career he's had, for the effort he's put in with Hendrick Motorsports. Obviously, he's gonna be a key figure
because
but like that's kind of sad.
That was that was really eye-opening for him because growing up, he dominated those races back in the day, those USAC races. That's how that's how he first became Jeff Gordon.
I like Barry Boy Blast's comment in the chat. I'm not going to read it out loud, but he just says Jeff Gordon is growing into his sexy dad. I wasn't going to go that far. Jeff still looks really good, but
hey, he worked hard. He worked hard in his career, so he can eat whatever he wants.
Okay, let's get to the last bit here. Toyota.
We are not nutritionists.
No, we're not. Toyota is looking to expand its lineup in the Cup Series in 2024 and in the future from there.
What small team? Because David Wilson was talking about like tier 2 or tier 3 teams that they're maybe talking. Mm-hmm. Which team do you think is most likely to switch to Toyota next year?
I don't know. Let me think about it.
Insightful.
I'm torn between JTG and Front Row.
I was gonna say JTG is my first guess, but I don't know. I genuinely don't know.
I'm gonna go outside the box. BJ McLeod somehow gets the Toyota.
They just switched to Chevys.
Oh well, never mind then. No, JTG then. JTG.
Yeah, I'd go.
Chad seems to think JTG.
I'd go with JTG. They were with him before. I could see him going back.
What about
and bring back the chrome wheels if they go with them.
What about like I don't know. What like Trackhouse? I doubt it. But what if a team like Trackhouse? We've seen good
in a Toyota though.
We've seen good teams switch manufacturer. SHR did it recently.
It's true.
Suarez will probably be sitting there like, oh crap, am I gonna lose my ride again?
Yeah, he's gonna lose his ride again.
Yeah, I think the JTG pick. Chat seems to agree. I think that's probably the best pick, but I think it's shot in the dark at this point. We don't know. Nothing may even come of this. It's all a guess.
All right, we got 2 things left. I want to roll through them real quick here. First off, fans like this at home if they're on a PC, because scanner frequencies will be available for free only on the PC. Anywhere else, you'll have to pay some kind of fee.
Yay!
But if you're on a PC, you get to hear the scanner frequencies for free. And NASCAR's website will have the in-car cameras as well for every car again. And then lastly, when it comes to somebody who will need a lot of cameras on him, is Kyle Larson, who's going to be running the 2024 Indy 500 Coke 600 double. So that's going to be exciting. Real fun to watch.
Exciting.
With McLaren.
With McLaren.
I like that they gave themselves such a long runway. Obviously, I'd love to see them do it this year. I don't know if the schedule's already being announced. If it's even possible to do both, but
that's smart. That's smart to announce it.
Lots of time to prepare. It's crazy to me how much preparation goes into that one race. Weeks of testing and practice. Obviously, tons of pre-prep, the months and years leading up to it. And still, you'll see a team. You'll see a team. Like Fernando Alonso's a few years ago.
Yeah, I was just about to say
entirely.
That was McLaren. That was with McLaren.
That was McLaren. Yeah,
that was McLaren.
But that was the F1 side. I mean, because isn't this an Aero McLaren and a Hendrick entry that Larson's going to be running? I think Hendrick's involved at least.
Oh, okay. Well, then that makes it a lot different. But
I don't know.
But also, too, McLaren, they have been in that situation before where they have, one of the, biggest names in motorsports come over and then he completely misses the race. So just take your time, prepare yourselves, get the car ready,
I guess it's all the same group, I guess, right? Is it still Zach Brown or
it's still Zach? It's still Zach Brown. Yeah,
he's the head of all of it.
Yeah, he's the CEO. Yeah.
Then yes, hopefully this goes better than whatever year that was. 19, I think.
No. 2020. Was it 19?
I think it was 19. Maybe.
Hold on, let me look it up.
I thought it was before COVID. I don't remember.
Yeah, it might have been before.
It was
COVID.
before COVID.
Oh
but-
yeah. 2019. Yeah.
Okay, I'm not the IndyCar guy.
But yeah, that was we had a big long off season. That was our big long lightning round.
Yes. And once again, that'll do it for this edition of the Lightning Round on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast.
God, made me nervous for a second there, Darian.
You kind of went away from radio voice.
You gotta keep it down. Tamper it down.
You're on the
keep it down
edge
a
there
bit.
for a moment.
I'm on the edge. I'm on the edge of danger a little bit, but yeah, it'll take some getting used to.
Well, before we go on to the last couple topics, before we get to our picks, I think we should thank one of our great sponsors who's returning, which is Lionel. For those of you who don't know, Lionel is the official diecast of NASCAR. You can pre-order your favorite drivers 2023 diecast now at lionelracing.com or any authorized Lionel retailer. And don't forget that you can also see the latest NASCAR Authentics wave at Walmart. And guys, we're going to change up this year because I'm the host and I want to on this one. I want to be the one that presents the diecast. And I got...
Is that Scott Riggs?
That's
Scott Riggs.
Valvoline.
2006. Nice Charger. That mean looking nose. That nose looked so mean back then.
Yeah.
I love it.
Won the All-Star Open that year.
Well, and he was right there. Was gonna win the Coke 600.
Yeah.
But this car for me has always been an all-time favorite. There's really no way you can mess up a Valvoline car, in my opinion. It's one of the few unruinable ones. But what I love about this one, outside of the glistening paint, is the fact that you can't really see it. It's hard for it to zoom in. But there's actually the rubber wheels right here.
Yep.
Oh, I love
the
that.
old school ones. Yes, old school.
I
remember those.
love these so much. So
Yeah.
this one, I saw it when I was cleaning out my closet over the off season. I'm like, why do I not have this diecast sitting out? So I get to show it to everybody. And again, that mean
Beautiful
Dodge look. But yeah, thank you so much to Lionel for sponsoring the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. Again, this is 3 years now?
Yeah.
Gosh, is it?
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Wow.
So thank you to Lionel for sponsoring the show. And now let's move on to the last couple topics. This one, I am so interested in seeing what you guys think on it. So for those of you who do not know, Hendrick Motorsports is a pretty darn good team. I'll just say that. Well, Hendrick Motorsports is at 291 total wins this season. This is maybe a big topic towards the middle and end of the season. They're 9 away from 300. And looking at the last couple years, well, they've had 11 wins in 2022, so that would get them to the threshold. 17 wins in 2021, with 10 of those being from Larson. That'd get them over. Only 7 wins in 2020. So each of us has picked one of the 4 Hendrick drivers, and I want all of us to argue on their behalf of which one, if they hit 300 wins as an organization, who gets it. And you know what? Eric, start us off with Kyle Larson on this one. Why does Kyle Larson get
Mr. Obvious.
the 300th win for Hendrick Motorsports this year?
Well, what I think is, they need 9 wins to get there, so it's not going to happen probably in the first half of the season. But second half of the season, what happens then? The playoffs, and who's going to be very much in championship contention? I think as he's been. I know last year he was around a 12 exit, I suppose, but he was a contender up until that was mistakes were made at the Roval. Kyle Larson has won 13 races over the last 2 years since joining Hendrick Motorsports. There's no reason to believe he and Cliff Daniels won't work together to win at least 3 or 4 more races this season. I expect him to be in peak form towards the end of the year. Kyle Larson said last season the issues were mistakes, and I can think of a couple off the top of my head. Obviously, there's couple of his wins, he still got into his teammate Chase Elliott. There was the mistakes at the Roval getting into the wall that damaged his car, prevented him from moving on. What would the heck happen at the Indy road course? Did he just lose focus? Did we ever figure out exactly what happened? He just destroyed Ty Dillon in one of the scariest wrecks I've seen in some time. Mm-hmm. So if he can cut back on the mistakes, which I think he will, Kyle Larson's going to be in contention late in the year, and that's when I think the 300th win is most likely to come.
Well, I'm going to go next on this list because I genuinely think this guy is going to be the one who gets win 300. And it's because of how good he has been overall with Hendrick Motorsports his whole career. And that is Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott has been just absolutely elite since coming to the Cup Series, especially since his first win. You know, I don't think Chase Elliott has ever finished outside the top 10 in points. Ever.
He's been to 3 straight championship
No.
fours. Not to make your argument for you, but
Yeah, I mean, he is as elite as they come. And this win is probably going to come in the second half of the season. And if Hendrick Motorsports, especially if Alex Bowman does pretty well, especially if William Byron gets a couple wins like he did last year, it is very likely that this win comes in the last 14 to 15 races of the season. Well, there's a couple tracks in there that Chase Elliott is really, really good at. One of those, Watkins Glen. He is probably the best driver of the last 5 years at Watkins Glen. He's good at super speedways, Daytona and Talladega. You know, he didn't perform well in the playoffs last year at the Southern 500, but he's still pretty good at Darlington. If Hendrick's really good, I don't know if you guys have ever heard before, but he's from Georgia, so he could win in Atlanta. The Roval, that's in there. I mean, there's so many tracks that are specifically good for Chase Elliott. On top of him being, in my opinion, at the moment, the top driver, not only at Hendrick, but honestly, consistency-wise, when it comes to speed, I think he's the best driver in NASCAR right now. I don't see why Chase Elliott isn't the odds-on favorite to win 300.
The way I see it is you need 9 wins to get to win number 300. So you don't have to get the most victories to get there. I mean, all you have to do is just be there at the right place at the right time. And William Byron only has 4 career wins, and based on the poll, nobody is expecting him to. It's not even at freaking 10%.
change their minds, Darian.
I'll try my best, but with only 4 wins, this suggests to me that hey, William Byron and Rudy Fugle, they are consistent. They still have some cooking left to do. They're not done. You know, their best days are still ahead of them, but statistically speaking, they do not win a whole lot of races. But it's all good because William Byron, of these four career wins, while 3 of them have came at the very beginning of the season, there's only one, his first career win, being at the 2020 regular season finale at Daytona International Speedway, which he won with Chad Knaus, I believe. I believe Chad Knaus was his Chad Knaus was his crew chief at the time. So I mean, that does suggest that yes, he can win later on in the season. So with all that consistency, you know, I think maybe he could eke out their 300th win. And maybe that would be William Byron's either his second or maybe his new career high 3rd win of the season. I could see him itching out getting a victory either at Daytona or sometime during the playoffs. Because I don't see Hendrick Motorsports being like super dominant to the point where they win 9 of the first 18 races. I don't see anything crazy like that happening. But with all the parity we saw last year, you know, Hendrick, they're still obviously going to have to fight for a lot of these victories. I think William Byron gets their 300th victory sometime either during the playoffs or maybe during the regular season finale.
Oh boy, shocker. Who am I left to talk about? So I'm going to be talking about the 48 car of Alex Bowman. I put it like this. I only see him getting 1 win in the regular season, but I see Hendrick as a whole getting about 6 to 7, maybe 8 wins in the regular season combined. And that would mean that I expected when this 9th win comes, that's win number 300, I think it's going to be in the playoffs. And there's a few tracks that stand out to me, especially in that first round. Fun fact about Alex Bowman, since coming to Hendrick Motorsports, he's never been eliminated in a round of 16. He's always at least made it past that first round. So I don't expect him to go out of that round. But a track on there is Kansas Speedway. This is a track that he finished 2nd in the fall last year. He finished 2nd in the spring of 2019. I think he ran really strong here back in 2020. He's had several good runs there, Darlington Raceway. He's had a few times, especially in 2020, where he ran very well, was contending for it. Bristol, not really one of his strong tracks. Texas, he's ran okay at. Talladega, anything's possible. But I'm particularly circling Kansas as probably being his best option to try to get win number 300 for Mr. H.
I like Denny Delivers' comment. He says, "Nah, Brandon Jones in a one-off fifth and
Well, I put up a poll when we started talking about this about 5 minutes ago.
Dude, nobody's picking Byron.
And
No way.
41% have Chase Elliott. Shocker. 30% have Kyle Larson. 21% have Alex Bowman. And
9%.
9%.
Danny,
have
how many
Byron.
accounts do you have?
8%.
I keep logging in and out, and
Gosh, that doesn't surprise
Wow.
me though. I figured Chase Elliott and Larson would be the favorites for sure.
Well, that was a fun little swing.
Yeah.
I think we have one more swing left in us here, though. A silly season swing. How about that?
Silly season swang.
There's been a couple. We could almost make this like a nice little lightning round too with it, where we just like fast fire what we think of this stuff. So
Let's do it.
Starting
Let's
off,
do
we
it.
got Denny Hamlin, FedEx at 11 team. There's uncertainty there. So here's a little backstory here. You got the Kyle Busch M&M's drama that happened only a few months ago into last year. FedEx overall as a company is looking at cutting about $2 billion of their spending. So I asked this question on you. Whoever jumps at it first, go for it. Does FedEx drop JGR or lower their sponsorship of the 11 team? And what's that mean for Denny Hamlin?
You know what? Go ahead, Eric, because you're the Joe Gibbs guy.
I don't think their sponsor deal will change enough that it jeopardizes Hamlin's future. I mean, he said during I think it was during media day, maybe it was during the awards banquet. I don't remember when it was, but it was in the last few weeks. He said that he doesn't anticipate any issues arising between him and Joe Gibbs Racing, and also Toyota. He did say it may take some extra time though, because he's got to negotiate with Toyota and stuff. There's 2311 involved in whatever deal he signs next, and it's a weird time to be signing a deal if you're a driver with the new TV contract and potentially new media rights split coming in 2 years. Like I think Chase Briscoe talked about this. He just signed like a 3+ year deal. And he even said that there's a clause in there that like allows them to maybe rework some things if the media rights change things in 2025. So I think it's just going to be complicated. It's going to take some time. There's going to be some uncertainty there. As far as FedEx, because I saw the report that they're looking to cut $2 billion in costs. This sounds crazy, but a $15-20 million sponsorship deal for Denny Hamlin, that's real money. But I think if you're looking to cut $2 billion and you're a logistics based company like FedEx, that's more of like a structural change, like cutting back on trucks, making routes more efficient. That's something more like your actual business process that I think is going to need to change to knock that kind of money off.
Still 1% is still a pretty big cut of one.
Yeah, it's big. I'm no business expert, but I feel like they've been tied to Denny Hamlin so long. It would be a big loss. I know M&M's was tied to Kyle Busch for a long time. Lowe's was tied to Jimmy Johnson. They both left, but this one just feels different to me. I will be surprised if they scale back in any significant way.
I won't bite on it them staying until I hear it confirmed, because I remember last year we started talking about it. I'm like, there's no way Kyle Busch and M&M's leave, and I'm just like, I'm still scarred by that.
I think the deal will be reduced. I don't think it'll be reduced by a whole lot. Maybe, take some races out here and there. But I mean, it sounds like that, they do want to save some money in the brand new deal. And sounds like publicly, Denny Hamlin isn't too concerned. He's a driver who says what's on his mind usually for the most part. And whenever negotiations weren't going well for Kyle Busch, you knew it right away immediately. Yeah. So I feel like if Denny Hamlin were in a similar situation, you would get a similar response. So him not going off and saying a whole lot of stuff makes me more hopeful that they'll get a deal done. And hey, if FedEx doesn't, if they reduce their amount of races and stuff, I could see another sponsor coming in and taking up some of those races. But it also, go ahead.
Yeah, go for it, Dan.
I was just going to say, here's an idea that's coming into my mind. You talk about someone coming in to fill the void. What if FedEx goes to 26 races instead of 36? Well, he's got a personal deal, but they could recruit it to be more of a full deal with Domino's. They could try to recruit them to come
Yeah.
on board.
And also, too, don't forget he has a bunch of sponsors with his other team, 2311. Maybe if they wanted to do a few races here and there, too. I mean, you could work something out.
DoorDash or McDonald's, they may want more time.
Yeah, you can
Interstate
certainly work
Batteries
something
is
out.
doing a race this year for
They're
him.
doing. They got all four. They're sponsoring all four cars now, basically.
Now, another big story coming out is, does Truex retire this year? This one, I just want fast fire. Give me a quick explanation, yes or no. Does he retire?
I'm gonna say no. I feel like he's, last year, the way he performed and stuff, set a fire in his belly and stuff. And also, too, he said that he still feels like he has a team that can win a lot of races. That was the most important comment to me. So if he feels he can still win, I don't think he goes anywhere for at least 2 to 3 years.
I agree, and this is a tough question to answer because I don't want to get into his personal life stuff.
I didn't want to. I didn't want to touch
public.
that. Yeah.
So
I'm not gonna
like,
touch that.
I don't know. Like, does that change his outlook on life to the point that he wants to race for a lot longer? Maybe this is now gonna, like, I don't know how that's changed him psychologically or what his plans are. So it's tough to say. I think, like you said, Darian, I agree. That quote was kind of eye-opening, that he still believes he's got a great car and he'd be foolish to not
Even
take
after
advantage of
last
that.
season, even after the way last season went,
he was fifth in the regular season standings. They just didn't win a race. So I think he's going to have a good year this season. I think he comes back for another year.
Yeah, I'm with Eric on this one. Again, don't want to get into the personal details. If you know, you know. But I think that's going to affect it. I think he's going to stick around because of what's changed recently.
I'm gonna be the contrarian here. I think he does. I mean, he's steadily been going down in performance. Yes, he did all right. Yes, of course he's gonna say he can win. No, this team sucks. I hate racing for him. I can't wait to be fishing in Delaware. Like, of course he's gonna say that.
Every driver's not Kyle Busch and saying their team sucks.
No, actually, his word. No, I the way you see how his performance even kind of trailed off the later the year went, and it almost seemed like he was kind of fatigued. And this has been a big question for a while now, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So even if he doesn't this year, I think the retirement's coming soon. I think he's over the hill when it comes to his peak. The best Martin Truex Jr. we saw from 2015 through about 2020. Like, he's never going to be that driver again. And the fact that he's so soon and so quick went winless and made dumb mistakes. I mean, the Homestead mistake, I don't think he makes that was,
the sun was in his eyes.
It was in my eyes. Sun was in my eyes.
Sun was in everyone's eyes. Truex was the only one that made the mistake. Like, that's my thoughts. Like,
it is true.
I think this is his last year. I'll put that down on paper.
I don't know. I think there's a great chance he's going to try and race until the next TV contract. I don't know. He's only 42. I think I could see him going to 45. I don't know about much past that, but we'll just see. I don't know.
Yeah.
Now, another one here. We talked about Bowman earlier, maybe getting win 300. Does Bowman keep Ally, and what's the future of Alex Bowman look like, Danny?
Yeah, everyone goes me. I think the Ally likes what they're getting with Alex Bowman. They're very active on his dirt team as well. It's not like they're just showing up to Hendrick and then saying goodbye, see you later. No, they're very active in all things Alex Bowman from what I've seen. They're very active in his pet charities, and I could see that being a big deciding factor of what happens with his contract. I think Ally is going to want to stick with Alex Bowman in the 48 car.
Do you like the day and night schemes they revealed, Danny?
A lot of people online didn't like them. I love them. I especially like the night one, and I think it's going to look great under the lights at Bristol and Nashville this year.
Yeah, I think Bowman. I think this one's a little more of a question mark because it sounds like Bowman wants to stay. Who wouldn't? It's a Hendrick Motorsports car. You got full sponsorship. If Ally is still going to come back, maybe they don't sponsor every race, but if they're still a 20 plus, 30 plus race sponsor and they like Bowman, then yeah, it all hinges on what Ally wants. If Ally is thinking of leaving, scaling way back, if for some reason they actually want a different driver, then Bowman may be in trouble. But there's some pressure on him this year. New crew chief.
Jimmy Johnson coming back does not help.
Yeah, there's always that. I didn't even think about that. Could we see Ally jump over? Well, from what I understand from the original deal, Ally has a B2B deal with Hendrick's car dealerships, so that could play.
They do. They're huge in the auto industry.
So that's why I think they'll probably stick around. I just don't know if they'll sponsor every race. And if they don't sponsor every race, do they get to say who goes in the car? If they're only sponsoring 15 races, does Hendrick get to decide?
Yeah.
And will they go with somebody else? I think there's pressure on this year, but I think they'll stay.
the thing is, like, I put currently Alex Bowman above where we saw Casey Kane in his run because he's at least been, aside from 18, he's been good for at least one win a year. And I think if you're able to do that consistently, that goes a long way, especially with this sport and this team.
It's tough because he's made the playoffs every year so far.
Yeah.
And I think with Blake Harris, I think most people would probably pick him to make the playoffs this year. So until he has just a flop of a season, it'd be hard pressed to put someone else on that car.
Yeah.
And especially after they've been doing all the sponsoring for events for him outside of NASCAR too. I mean, it'd be totally different if they weren't doing that as well. But go ahead.
I was gonna say, and Parker brings up a good point in the chat. Blake Harris going over there, that could potentially elevate the 48.
Yeah, so I feel like the best thing Bowman needs to do is just strictly focus on the on track performance. Obviously, the whole contract situation, it's a big deal, but I mean, you can only control what you can control. And if Alex Bowman can improve with Blake Harris as his crew chief performance wise, then yeah, Ally will certainly love to ink out a brand new deal with them.
It all depends on if Bowman. I think if Bowman comes back and has a resurgence, which I personally think he will. I'm not saying I don't think he's going to become the reincarnation of Jimmy Johnson, but it's not out of the question with an aggressive crew chief like Blake Harris, with as good as the Hendrick cars are and the nose changes that may make the Chevys even faster. Like, I don't see any reason why he shouldn't perform. I'll put it like that. Like, if Alex Bowman does not make it to the round of 12 like he does every year, he makes the postseason.
Goodbye.
I don't think there's an excuse. I think he is a good enough driver to do so. He has a good enough situation around him, and it's, I think, only been improved by Blake Harris going in there. Mm-hmm. So I just
hope he stays healthy. I hope he. That's my big thing. You just never know.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. I almost forgot about that.
I think that Ally and Bowman will stick around, and it might be another year too. I mean, Hendrick's been signing sponsors for longer term deals than a lot of other teams have. So that's big. Now jumping over,
you can't ditch a top 75 driver in NASCAR history. Did y'all see The Athletic? They released their top 75. They had a big panel. Bowman's number 75 on the list. And if you look at the numbers,
he's
it makes sense.
Around there, yes.
Yeah, he's around there.
But are we just counting Cup, or are we counting all series?
Just talking Cup is what the list was.
He's tracking very well, and this comes from admittedly a fan of him. He's tracking very well. I wouldn't put him that high though.
Yeah,
but he has 7 wins, I think, and there's not many other drivers.
Even the freaking Alex Bowman fanatic didn't want to put him that high.
So, we talked. Getting back on track, we talked about one Chevy team. Let's talk about the other Chevy team that has questions up in the air. Does Trackhouse re-sign both Chastain and Daniel Suarez going in through this year?
100%.
I'm gonna go with a hot take. No, they're gonna lose one of them. They're gonna lose one of them.
Which one?
I don't know. It depends. I mean, if they want to go cheaper, obviously, Daniel Suarez, or if they want to, to re-sign Ross Chastain, and maybe there's another prospect they want to bring up or something like that too, then unfortunately Suarez would get the raw end of the deal, something like that. So I feel like only one of them will end up returning in 2024.
So I will counter Darian here because Ross Chastain literally just almost won the championship. I don't see them wanting to get away from him. And side note, I mean, Daniel Suarez, that was their first guy. I don't see them wanting to just say
it's cutthroat though.
I don't see them being ready to part just like that. Also from Daniel Suarez, I'm going to try to find a way to make it not go down like that because this is the longest team he's ever been with, and he's only been with them now for
this is his third year.
This is his third year.
But also too, remember, hey, there are other teams that are looking at Chastain like, hey, like,
well, what if they expand?
What's your price?
What if they expand, especially with the TV
expand
deals?
Too. Yeah, they could expand too. Yeah.
Here's my only concern. I think both will stay with Trackhouse. My only concern when it comes to Chastain is he did just make the championship 4, went viral, #1 top play on Sports Center, second in points.
It would be
his
crazy.
My point is his price just went up. Like he was a bargain. I bet you last year he was not a top 20, maybe top 20, but he was not a top 10, top 15 paid driver. He might have not even been top 20 paid, highest paid driver last year. I think he's going to expect to be at least top 15, top 10. And I don't know, the Trackhouse might have to move some things around. But I think they'll get a deal done. I think there's mutual interest. Where else is Chastain going to go? Stewart Haas?
I mean, if the 48 does open.
If the 48 opens.
Yeah, there's a lot of scenarios here. There's a lot more scenarios.
It's a very long shot.
I think a Hendrick car or arguably a Gibbs car is the only car I would rather be in than a Trackhouse car.
What if Truex retires?
Maybe. I'm not gonna. That's what I'm not saying. I think they stay
at this point.
Gibbs pays well. They pay their drivers well, unless your name is Kyle Busch and you're the sponsor, or Matt Kenseth and you're 45 years old. But they usually pay your drivers what their drivers want. So that's my only concern with Chastain. With Suarez, and not to plug this, but I actually got to talk to Daniel Suarez earlier this week for a project I'll be releasing in the next week or two. And this kind of came up, and he didn't specifically answer, oh yes, we're working on a contract, working on an extension, but he did call Trackhouse family, and it's a place he sees himself for a long, long time. So we know Suarez wants to stay. I think Trackhouse, they built this team up around him. Some of the sponsors initially were tied closely to Daniel Suarez. I think if the results are similar to what he did last year, if he can improve, especially, I think Trackhouse will be quick to sign him to an extension. But the fact that he only got a 1-year extension last year,
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
It seems weird that they'd leave the door open at all to letting Suarez go when he was their anchor driver initially.
Like you just mentioned, he says the team is family, but only a 1-year extension though for the guy who, helped you, start the team and stuff, your first ever driver, I don't know. I figured there'd be some more loyalty there, but that could change.
I asked the chat who they thought that would be kept by Trackhouse, and
both.
It was both 83%, Chastain 10, Suarez 4, neither 4. So, and the poll on that one. Now, last one, and this one I do want to do just rapid fire. You can give me an explanation if you want. If not, go for it. If you have to give an explanation, definitely go for it on that one. Who replaces Harvick?
Ooh.
So I think in a perfect world, Zane Smith. I don't know if they'll be able to get him from front row. He is a Ford driver. Off the top of my head, my first guess is John Hunter Nemechek. That's my first guess.
This answer is going to piss off some fans because I know I know what you're doing. The easiest person to me in that situation would be Cole Custer, right? Like, depending on how he does in the Xfinity Series this year, he already has family ties within the team. So, would you look for another outside guy, or do you want to keep promoting within the team? I could see Cole Custer getting back in the Cup Series next season. I could totally see that.
So, I just that seems like the most obvious, man. But what about Riley Herbst?
Riley Priest.
Sorry, I've heard Ryan Priest over and over. What about Riley Herbst?
I could see that.
He's got sponsorship.
Brings in the money. Brings in the money.
And I would have said no chance that they give him a Cup deal just because of that monster money. But JGR just gave Joe Graff a part-time deal in Xfinity. I didn't think that was ever going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no telling how far money can take you.
And Monster is in that pipeline between him and Haley Deegan with Ford.
Yeah. So and he's a Kevin Harvick client, a Kevin Harvick Incorporated client. There's that going for him.
Now, go ahead.
Okay, go for it, Danny.
Yeah, I think Ryan Priest is my pick. Yeah, he's going to the 41 this year, but I kind of thought that would just be like a one-time deal. Hunt Brothers Pizza basically seems like they're good to come with him. Busch, probably, if they want to stick with SHR, wouldn't.
And he's got United Rentals as a supporter as well.
Yeah, so he's got so many of those partners already kind of okay with him. I could see them just transferring him into the 4 team. Then the 41s open up, and maybe that's where you bring a Riley Herbst in it. By putting him in that 41 car, that takes away Haas's need to invest into that car as much.
I look at it like, I just think it'd be crazy. So in Xfinity this year, Custer and Herbst will be full-time. we all know Custer's going to blow Herbst out of the water. Like, we know he is. No disrespect to Herbst. I think Herbst wins a race this year. I do think Riley Herbst will win a race this year. But Custer's going to win 5. And just, can you imagine after that?
I think it'll win more.
After that kind of season, if they win a Herbst in Cup over Custer.
I mean, Custer did have a similar kind of season that you're describing before he went to Cup, and it didn't exactly go well.
I know. Well, he won Rookie of the Year his first year. No.
He's the last winner at Kentucky Speedway.
Got a trophy.
The 550 package.
That man only has one career top 5.
That man just had to hold it down. That's all he had to do. He basically won a mini plate. He basically won Atlanta before Atlanta was Atlanta.
Oh my gosh! All right, that was fun.
Yeah, that was fun. But I think we got one more group to thank before we get to picks.
Yes, we do. We've made it to our Clash at the Coliseum picks, but before we can do that, we did not forget about these beautiful partners. But Forney Industries is back once again. Forney offers a full line of welding and plasma cutting machines, metalworking accessories, and more. If you're a do-it-yourselfer or a professional metalworker, Forney has everything you need for your next project. So check them out at forneyend.com. Y'all are familiar with the link at this point. If you've been watching for any amount of time, Jarrett's got it down in the description. Or look for their green Forney logo at an authorized Forney dealer near you. I was actually at Ace Hardware the other day, and they had some Forney stuff out on display when I first walked in. I was stoked. I was like, oh my gosh, it's as seen on the NASCAR Weekly podcast. We need to get that on the box somewhere.
Yeah, we need to get that sponsor. Yeah.
But
just like that big.
Yeah, a little tiny one, a little itty bitty spot.
Like the end of the commercials when they're talking about something like this, like that.
Yeah. Side effects include. Side effects may include death.
No, it does not.
Becoming a hardcore NASCAR fan and watching 4 men talk about NASCAR on a Zoom call.
You don't get those side effects watching this podcast or listening to this podcast.
Thank you to Forney Industries, Jarrett. I don't know where we're starting. I don't know where we're starting with the Clash, but yeah, the Clash is this weekend.
We got some Clash talk here. First off,
first race preview of the season.
First race preview, first race picks, which we'll talk a little more in depth about that in a moment. But let's go right into some of these details for this weekend. It is the Busch Clash at the Coliseum, 150 laps, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern time on Big Fox and MRN. Weather, according to AccuWeather, is looking to be 64 degrees and cloudy with a 25% chance at rain.
We got rain tires, though.
Yes, we do.
I'll worry about that. Nope, no worries.
A couple of big storylines to look at through this one. Different tidbits about it, whatever. It's a big, different event. Now, Joey Logano is your defending winner, but this year, in light of the history of the Coliseum, first, second, and third will win a gold, then silver, and bronze medals for this race. It's not something that's going into every race. It's not a participation
it's for
trophy.
Fun.
Some of y'all was really getting mad about that. This is an F1.
There is that. There will be 27 entries on the quarter-mile track for the main. Tony Stewart is going to be in the booth. Rob Lowe is going to be in as the Grand Marshal, because Rob Lowe is in everything nowadays. And there will be concerts and musical acts from those like Wiz Khalifa, Dixie D'Amelio, and Cypress Hill.
Eric,
right, Eric?
You know who that is, Eric? You know who that is, Eric?
Who, Dixie D'Amelio?
It's the Daytona 500 laps.
I just found it even funnier that
wasn't she at the Coliseum last year?
Yeah, her and her
like
sister.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. They asked if the 500 was 500 laps.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, hey, everyone's got to start somewhere. I've heard worse. I've heard worse questions.
But before we get into who we're gonna pick this week, I say we go to Darian's betting odds, and I say we jump something else on screen for you guys really quick. That way you can see what Darian's talking about here.
Brand new, yes. Welcome back to the betting odds on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. Let's go with the race favorites for the 2023 Clash at the Coliseum. Joey Logano and Chase Elliott are both tied at +7. I cannot talk about my
+750.
At +750, both of them tied to win the race. In third place is Kyle Larson at +800, as well as Christopher Bell. And then finally rounding out the top 5 is Kyle Busch at +900. As for the best of the rest, Ryan Blaney and Denny Hamlin are both plus 1,000, as well as Ross Chastain and William Byron being plus 1,200. And finally, Tyler Reddick at plus 1,500. As for the underdogs, Kevin Harvick at plus.
Excuse me.
We are messing up the drivers' names tonight so hard, bro. Oh my gosh.
Harvick. He's only got 1 year left, man.
Kevin Harvick at plus 2,000. Martin Truex Jr. at plus 2,500. Alex Bowman plus 3,000. Eric Jones plus 4,000. And finally, my personal favorite, Justin Haley at plus 10,000.
Kevin in the chat says, "Give me Haley just for the hell of it."
I love the face. I love the face, by the way. I love the face.
I had to find a way to incorporate it. I had to.
Yeah. I love it. You're going to see that beautiful face all season long, folks, for the betting odds.
Well,
I'm sorry. I'm laughing at Ross Chastain.
What? I'm like trying to look and see what.
Oh gosh.
Oh no. Okay, well, let's keep moving here. Looking forward, we will talk about the NASCAR Weekly Podcast Fantasy League soon. No points racing. It's not going to be up. But we do have picks of our own and pick points and all that. And I thought I'd jump something else on you guys as well here. When it comes to the picks, this is how it's done, okay? I've seen a lot of people get a little confused by it, and I understand why.
Yeah.
So here is the way that points are awarded for each series. 10 to first for the Cup Series, then down in increments of 2 to 5th. Mostly we'll only have 5, between the 4 of us in the chat. If you pick the winner correctly, you get 5 bonus points. Then 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 for Xfinity and the Truck Series, with 3 bonus points if you pick the winner right for Xfinity and 1 for the Truck Series. If you sweep the weekend, you get an extra 10 all on top of that. And then when we have the SRX, that'll be 4 more. So there's that for you right there. So basically, you can keep us honest during the season. We'll post it up during different points of the season. You guys keep us honest. If I did the math wrong or if somebody is doing really well, just tell us about that. And yes, I will be able to tell if you're lying and saying the chat deserves more points.
Love the graphics, by the way. Love the new graphics.
Thank you. And I appreciate that. Well, let's get into it, though. Who are our picks for this weekend? Let's go in the order of the way the hosts finish, and chat, you guys get the last finish again, or last pick again on it. So, starting with Eric, who is your pick to suck in the Clash?
Gosh, second place 2 years in a row. I lost to Jarrett in 21 and Chat. It went down to the wire, but y'all got me last season.
Damn, Mark Martin.
Yeah. This year, I'm gonna go from bridesmaid to the bride, right? Something like that. I will if I win it. I was gonna make a promise. I was gonna say I'll wear a wedding dress if I win this thing.
Dennis Rodman.
I'm not gonna make that promise. I'll wear a veil or something. I'll wear just a white T-shirt. How about
that sounds cheaper.
That's a lot better. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I guess I get to go first again this year. That's my honor.
Yep.
So suck pick. So here's my theme for the Clash. I think you got to be a little mean to win the Clash. And there's some really polite drivers that were just afterthoughts last year. Remember, Keselowski didn't even make the show. Martin Truex Jr. I think he's my suck pick. I think he's gonna have a good year this season, but the Clash does not suit someone as polite and gentlemanly as Martin Truex Jr. The dude literally had a fire suit with a bow tie on it a couple of years back.
Yeah.
This race just isn't built for someone.
Nobody is scared of you, bro. Nobody's scared of you.
Well, I'm gonna go with the guy who you had just mentioned, Brad Keselowski. I think that he's gonna have a better season than last year, but it sure as hell is not gonna start with the Clash, at least in my opinion. Now watch, I say that he's gonna win. But yeah. So next up, Dan.
So you said Brad Keselowski, and I'm thinking similar note, but it's the guy who's in his former car. I was at this race last year, and I can recall Austin Cindric getting into a lot of people's ways, bumping them, spinning a few times, and I'm going to put Austin Cindric as my suck pick for this one.
Hey, like Eric basically mentioned, hey, good guys finish last basically in this race. It seems like you got to be mean. You got to be a mean old SOB to even have a shot at winning this race. And Eric Almirola is one of the nicest guys in the entire garage area, so I will go with Eric Almirola. And also to remember, I believe he was the first to DNF in one of the heat races, if I'm not mistaken.
Sounds right. I remember he was on the wall at one point.
He DNF'd in one of the races, yeah. In the in his heat race, yeah. He DNF'd. So,
well, you're going with the chat because they have unanimously chosen him.
They're gonna pick him every single time.
I'm a little surprised no one mentioned Ty Dillon. He
won, but then he got DQ'd, right?
He was too aggressive. He was too mean.
I'm just thinking Ty Dillon in the Spire car is like low hanging fruit this year.
Yeah.
Well,
the chat's taking Almirola. Yep.
Let's go to a little higher hanging fruit on this one with our dark horse pick.
I'm gonna go Justin Haley. Until he got KO'd by Kyle Larson, I think he was wasn't he running like 5th when that happened in the main event?
I think he won one of the heats.
Yeah. So I think Justin Haley is a solid dark horse pick for this one.
Yeah, I was actually gonna go with Justin Haley as well. So we pretty much explained where I was going with. No, it's fine. It's fine. You explained where I was going with it.
3 for 3, Justin Haley for me as well as my underdog.
Well, I'm not gonna pick Justin Haley. I'm gonna pick another driver who is with Storehouse Racing, Ryan Priest, because remember, he won one of the heat races last year
in a Rick Ware car.
Racing car. Yes, if anybody can make the main show, it's clearly him, Ryan Priest, my underdog.
And while there were some from others, it's looking like 43. Eric Jones has been the big one. There might be Noah Gregson a little bit.
I'm saying a little bit more 42 actually.
That's a repeat from a certain lost crash stain.
Right. It's close. Yeah. I think you go. I think you gotta go Jones. A couple Almondingers just snuck in.
I mean, I'll put up a poll for it as we go to the win pick.
Poll.
Answer me, poll.
I'm seeing a few more Gregsons now, so I'd at least put Gregson in there. 42.
Basically, they're leaning towards Legacy Motorsports either way.
Motor Club, Danny.
The club.
Hey, just be happy I don't call it Jimmy Johnson Racing.
All right. So while they're voting on that, and we can also see the responses in the chat itself, who Darian is going to win?
Yes. It has been so long, but fellas, I got one question for y'all. Who's gonna win? Who's gonna win the Clash this weekend?
Radio voice made it for about half a show.
Yeah.
We gotta work on it.
I'm gonna put a rev limiter on your mic.
Someone in the chat, or it might have been Denny Deliver, said Darian needs a muffler. Sounds a little barbaric in my opinion.
God.
Okay, so I guess I got to go first. Win pick.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Like I said, you got to have a little edge to you if you're going to win the Clash. I mean, Joey Logano won it last year. We know he's not afraid to knock somebody out of the way, but I'm going to go with the guy who went wheel to wheel with him in the closing lap, someone who we know is motivated to prove all the doubters wrong this season, still in his prime, Kyle Busch. And don't forget this, the 8 car that he's driving this year was dominating this race until it broke. So
that's true.
I feel pretty good about Kyle Busch's chances of starting the year off strong and winning the Clash.
But it did break.
Yeah.
Well, by the way,
and also he led the most laps too. Kyle Busch did.
By the way, letting you know now, the 43 won far and away. It was like 61 to 39, 60 to 40.
That was easy.
For me, I am going to go with a driver who I think is going to have a huge year, a really big year. This guy had made a pretty big change in his career. Honestly, probably one of the biggest the sport seen in a while, especially for a driver his caliber. I think with a new manufacturer too, it's going to be really interesting to see how he does. That team itself had been getting better as the year went on last year, and he performed really fast in the Clash last year. We just talked about him. Tyler Reddick.
Hey, he led 51 laps before the car broke. And it was 51 of the first 53. I was
trying to parallel. It's amazing how much him and Kyle Busch parallel each other if you just think of it from certain ways.
That's crazy. I mean, Kyle Busch, he led 64 laps in this race last year, and Tyler Reddick 51. So they had 2 of the most laps led. So they can win here.
Last year for this race, I picked a guy who ended up not even being in the final show. That's not going to happen to me this year, I think, because I'm picking a teammate of that person. I'm picking a California kid He was fast here last year until he got preoccupied being angry at Justin Haley. I'm picking Kyle Larson to win the Clash this year.
So there were only 3 drivers to lead any sort of laps in last year's race. You had Tyler Reddick with 51, Kyle Busch with 64, but the third one happened to be the winner as well. I think Joey Logano will win he'll win this race 2 years in a row. He has all the momentum coming off of a second championship. New full set of hair now, looking good. And he has a thing for winning these exhibition races left and right here. So I think he'll make it two seasons in a row as the Clash winner. Joey Logano.
So looking at the chat, there's a lot of 8s, but there's a lot of repeats too. So it's hard to tell.
There's repeats, but it's been majority 8. And I'm wondering here, are they really this confident about Kyle Busch, or do they just want to follow Eric?
Guys, it's a new season.
It's a new season, y'all. You don't have to do that anymore. Well, I guess they want to start off right away.
They're guaranteeing they won't be behind.
I'm seeing
You'll
a bunch
in the
of
basement
8s,
with
though.
me probably after this week.
Yeah, we're gonna go 8 on this one. So Kyle Busch is their pick. That was funny because Kyle Busch was my pick last year. So Kyle Busch. So outside of Eric in the chat, we all picked differently this time.
Wow.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
I'm excited.
Chat's going to pick the same as Eric all year.
Who in the chat's going to be at the Clash? Because I'll be there this year. I need to know who else is going to be vibing because I'm excited. I'm really excited to see if the atmosphere lives up to the hype of year one. I thought last year's race, I thought the crowd was pretty great, especially by the main event. I was pleasantly surprised by the renovations and the venue. I thought it was great. So I'm excited for this year.
Reminder, don't get there too early because there was nothing to do for a while.
That's right. Yeah. I'll have to watch. It's a night race this time too. It's the main event's going to start as the sun sets, which I'm really excited about. So I think that's going to help the atmosphere quite a bit. But yeah, the chat's, I forgot the chat's so delayed, but I'll be watching. You can move on, Jared.
Well,
Black Cat's going to be there. Yes. Nice. GN is going to be there. Great.
Nice.
Well,
good stuff.
Let's roll in and appreciate the chat a little more. Some of the super chats they left. Starting off with Spencer, who has been a member for 19 months, said, "Who's back? We back. What's back? NWP's back." Need for Speed 5353 says for $2. Praise Ty Dillon. Jared Sanders for $1.99. What an unexpected surprise! Holy cow! Let's see. Jar Jar still going after Harvick.
Of course.
Hello FR for 2 says Tom Brady retiring with Johnson soon. My childhood is over.
Yeah, it's coming to an end.
Hunter Nixon fishing for 10. Gonna be an emotional year as a Harvick fan, but I hope he gets the farewell tour he deserves. One of the greatest drivers to ever grace our television screens. Auburn LTL for 5. I would be going to North Wilkesboro, but of course, high school graduation has to get in the way. Just skip it. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I skipped my prom to watch a random Kansas race.
I wasn't doing that.
I've spent the rest of my time after high school without them. I just got a head start.
Hey, my high school graduation was at 8:00 in the morning. So if yours is early, you might be able to just wear your cap and gown to Wilkesboro. It's a night race.
That's crazy. That's crazy, Eric.
It's a little wild.
Yeah. Well, at least it's better than some people who had like a McDonald's drive-through graduation. Antar Das, thank you for the 5. He wanted to remind me that that my audio wasn't coming across. It is now. GN, thank you for the 5. Anyone else see that funny MRN moment from the 2002 Daytona 500 from NASCAR, Gavin? Yes, I did. It's hilarious. If you haven't seen it, if you guys haven't seen it, I'm going to show you guys after the show.
Yeah, let's watch it.
2, Auto Club better update its 1997 facilities with the reconfiguration. Yeah, I'd expect that. Let's see. William, thank you for the 2. Going to the Coliseum race for my birthday. Well, happy birthday, William.
Nice. Enjoy it.
Spanky for the 5. Here's $5 and a reminder that 29 drivers are planning to run the full Xfinity season. How many of them give up mid-season? A good amount, but the fact that there's that many, I think, is actually a record.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Bruce, thank you for the 5. Welcome back, gents. Looking forward to a great 2023 season. Looking forward to it as well.
Yeah.
Corvette Racing 48. There are confirmed 34 full-time drivers for Cup this year. The only chartered teams that have multiple drivers in one car is the 78 and the 15, which is about like years past. Personal favorite here, Hot Piss. Thank you for the 2. I had no idea today was the premiere. Well, we need to work on marketing for next year then.
Yeah.
Ross Crash Stain for 5 said, the issue I have is even though it was banned, the Hail Melon, NASCAR is still going to use it for promotional pieces. Kind of hypocritical in my opinion. I can see where people come from with that.
It wasn't illegal at the time.
Yeah.
They still use Matt Kenseth junking Logano for promotion, but that was illegal at the time. He got penalized for it.
And also, too, they used Ryan Newman's near-death crash for a while, too. So that doesn't surprise me.
Fox Sports, ladies and gentlemen.
Fox Sports.
Russ, thank you for the 5. Message was retracted, but thank you for the 5 anyway. Bake the Snake for 5. What in tarnation? Jared shaved. Yes, I did. And I'm actually really enjoying being smooth. Gavin, thank you for the 5. What's the probability of 3 consecutive first-time winners in the Daytona 500?
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
That would be wild.
That'd be cool.
Justin, no, Justin Haley has a win.
Yeah, it was at Daytona.
I was trying to think of a name off the top of my head, but now
Harrison Burton.
That's what I was
He is
just
pretty
thinking.
quick.
He was fast last year. That 21 has a good history.
He was especially fast in the air, too. Up in the air.
Well,
When people could see it. Russ had another one that was retracted, but donated 5. And then another one that wasn't retracted for 5. He said, here's how you fix the playoff grid. You're locked in with 3 or more wins. This way, no more than 8 can win their way in. Fill the rest of it by points. That's an option.
Yeah.
Marky Mark, thank you for the 5. Isn't the restart zone going to be 50% larger in the first 5 events? Yes, and then they're going to reevaluate at it after or before one or the other. I can't remember the name. No, after Atlanta, going to Dakota.
Yeah.
Gavin, thank you for being a member for 6 months. Excited to see how Kyle Busch does at RCR. I say 3 wins.
I think 5. 4 to 5.
I'm saying 5 to 6 personally. But you'll find out our playoff predictions next week, and those are spicy because unlike most years where we agree on like 13 or 14, I think we only agreed on 10 this year.
Yeah.
Or 11. It's like there's gonna be some spicy takes.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, you can see on the bottom line right now that you can actually see when the upcoming episodes are. So just keep it in mind.
I love the ticker. Jared.
Jupiter Rain for 2, the closer who lost many races on pit road with penalties. We're talking about Kevin Harvick or Denny Hamlin. And the super chat just updated on me. Hold on. Andrew, thank you for the 5. Can't believe it's already year 6 of the NWP. I remember finding it in season 1 with Urinating Tree as a guest after Talladega. Wow.
That's right.
Thank you.
Long time
Thank you
ago.
for watching that long.
It feels like forever now.
Alex, thank you for the 5. If NASCAR has Amazon Prime's deal, I can see a driver cameoing on either The Boys or Invincible. Either crap's going to hit the fan. Either way, crap's going to hit the fan. Think, fans, think. Hunter, which I bet, by the way, I would love to see Kyle Busch on The Boys.
That'd be funny.
Hunter, thank you for the 5. My only issue with streaming is stream-only races. The NHL, for example, has had games on ESPN Plus only, and it annoys me to no end. I don't blame you.
Yeah, that's understandable. Yeah.
RIP California for 2. A great option for watching NASCAR is Sling TV. It's nothing for 2. Toast, part 1. Oh, interesting. Rowdy18 _ diecast for 208. I see what you did there. My first race is Spring Atlanta. Hope to see y'all. I'm probably not going to be at that one, but I know at least 2 people here are probably going to be. So
I will be. Might be working, but I will be there.
Yeah.
Evan, thank you for the 5. Best wishes to Brady. But now we pass the throne to the new GOAT. I don't know who that is, and the what happened guy.
Oh,
I love that kid.
I-
What happened?
What happened?
Somebody
I-
needs to
I-
do that for the Daytona 500 this year.
Yeah,
Whoever loses it.
someone at NASCAR needs to get with him to do something for them.
I would love nothing more than just to wake up one day, open up my phone, have a text sent to me, and all I hear is Chase Elliott. What happened?
Like, I'll think of a specific race. Kansas, Bowman looked like he was going to win it. Gets passed by Bubba Wallace at the end. Bowman, what happened?
Cousin Rowdy, thank you for the 2. Ready for another season? Hope it's a good one. I think it'll be on all fronts.
Cousin Rowdy, by the way, is our old friend PTM Billy. He's rebranded.
Yep.
Oh.
Jupiter Rain for 2. Why do you think Elliott will struggle this year? I don't think he'll struggle this year.
I don't think he'll struggle. I don't think he'll struggle.
I might make jokes, but doesn't mean I don't think he's a great driver.
Nah, I don't think he'll struggle.
Brian, thank you for 5. Did you guys see Dover is apparently going to have the world's largest bounce house in the fan zone this year? That's
That's a pretty attractive gimmick.
I'm looking for flights right now.
Yeah, I'm going just for the bounce house.
Yeah, for real.
Dover flights.
it's
Let's
actually
check this
it's
out.
Hey,
actually
on
for Miles the Monster.
On the outside, on the outside of Nashville last year, they had one of those little like potato sack slides, and they had bumper cars on the outside too.
Why is Spirit Airlines like the only available option? That is a no
Because
go.
not many fly to Dover like that. I guess.
They're gonna drop you off in the bounce house.
Well, let's
for a hot
let-
landing.
We can talk about our Spirit Airlines horror stories in a bit after the show. But first off, I want to thank this next super chat from someone very special watching at home. Mother of all icebergs. Thank you for the 50. Welcome back, man. Missed you all. Thank you, Mom.
Thank you as well.
Austin, thank you for the 5. With the new TV deal, could it be possible to have partners rotate Daytona like NBC and Fox did from 01 to 06? It worked back then. Maybe.
if they're willing to.
I
but
think
if you're
I,
not
th-
willing
I
to-
think they worked away from that because Fox had been there longer and it was just confusing for casuals. Sean, thank you for the 2. Weekly reminder number 1 that Jimmy Johnson is the GOAT. Debatable, but he is definitely in the conversation. Isaac, thank you for 2. True athletic number 1 driver, McDowell supremacy.
You should have been on the voting panel.
Yes.
Max, thank you for the 2. Now, no way they give Ross more time. What? Oh, no way they don't give Ross more time, future champ. It was a little odd how it came in there. Ross crash stain for 5. When the fans in Talladega infield said they wanted Dixie back, oh my God.
That's the one that made me
I
laugh.
don't think they meant her.
Oh, baby. Yeah.
Well played. Well played. Jam plays games. Thank you for the 2. Legacy Motor Club is an SMP Busch team from 2004. A squared 123 for 2. I will Eric first race ever. Talking about the Clash.
Oh yeah, you'll be there.
Nice.
Sweet deal. That's gonna be
Cool.
fun. That'll be an interesting first race.
Sly Supersonic for 950. Very interesting choice. Welcome back, NWP. I have greatly missed my Fantastic 4. Let's go.
Hello.
NASCAR. There's only a couple left here. Napa Racing Fan 927 for 5. Hot takes. Christopher Buescher, Dinger, and Eric Jones win to make it in the playoffs. Ryan Preece makes it on points. Harvick wins at least 3 races. Very hot takes, but I like it.
Yeah.
We are a very hot take positive show. Dislocation, thank you for the 2. 2020 grad from high school, very fun time. My brother was too, and I felt for him.
Poor guys.
It's nothing for 2. Who are y'all's second favorite driver? Don't worry about it. Danny knows the background of that joke.
I don't really have a second favorite, but I can tell you my third favorite is
Who's your third favorite?
Paul Menard.
Honestly, I don't know who my second favorite is.
I don't know. I don't really have a favorite like that anyways.
Side note, Russ McCollum in the chat said, how does Danny look 25 and 45 at the same time? I don't know.
Hey,
I'm 27, almost 28. So
Hey, you know what? I have the perfect answer. Since Mr. Bell's in the chat, Christopher Bell. That's my second favorite driver.
You kiss butt.
No, I'm kidding.
All right, well, let's get these last couple here. Trevor Bailey, thank you for the 5. NWP is back. I'm pumped for this year. Missed y'all. Also, can I get a quick birthday shout out this Saturday? P.S. Darian, don't jinx anyone. Well, happy birthday, Trevor.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to
Don't tell
you.
me. Don't tell me your favorite driver, Trevor, because then I'll forget about it. Ruin that.
I'm your second favorite driver.
Cody Workman, thank you, buddy, for the 5. Apparently, Jared's beard missed the memo. The podcast resumes tonight.
Yeah.
Here's to a great year. See you at Daytona. Well, I won't be at Daytona, but Eric will. So
Yeah.
it's nothing. Thank you for being a member for 4 months. It says, I have one of these. Yay. I don't know what to say, to be honest. Hi. Well, hi. And then
Hello.
the most recent one, a Canadian 10 from Monstrous Eggman.
Nice name.
I like it. Yeah. Can't wait to see Ty Gibbs and Gregson battle out for Rookie of the Year. Well, we'll finish out on that one. Who do we got?
Battling for 21st.
Gregson or Gibbs, who wins Rookie of the Year?
Well,
Gibbs.
I'll give Gibbs I'll give it to Gibbs, but I think it'll be a lot closer than anticipated.
And then thank you, EW. No, I got it spelled like W. For 10. Here's to a great 2023. Yeah, but I think
That's a good first episode.
Yeah,
we had
it
a
was
lot
fun.
of ground to cover.
Yeah, no,
We got in under 2.5 hours. One final poll to end the evening.
We'll have a poll. Everybody is having some fun as we jump on out. But you know what? I think everybody has seen where we're going to be next week, but I'm going to say it again. They've seen where we're going to be the next 10 weeks. It's going to be real fun.
Our listening audience doesn't know. They got to know.
Yeah,
Yes,
true.
exactly. So next week, Wednesday night, February 8th at 8 p.m. Eastern time, we are going to be on this man's channel, Danny B Talks, for, well, a lot of stuff. We're going over the Busch Clash. We're going to be talking about Speed Week, so that's going to be coming up right after we have a little Super Bowl bye week. And we're going to be giving our 2023 Daytona 500 pole pick predictions. And on top of all that, we have all of our picks for the NASCAR playoffs. And trust me, there are going to be some fans who are very happy and very displeased, and it's just going to be a ton of fun to talk about. So 8 p.m. Eastern time next week on this day, a Wednesday night on DannyBTalks Channel. Going to be really fun, and we cannot wait to see you there. But guys, the logos are off the screen. The ticker is done.
Damn, first show's in the books. Season 6.
Well
Season
done, gentlemen.
6.
One
This
down,
is crazy.
40 episodes to go.
Yeah, I can't believe y'all keep showing up to listen / watch.
Yeah.
More
appreciate
power
it.
to you. We got
Slash-
over 700 tonight.
/ also watch for us to embarrass ourselves and make memes out of us.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Somebody already sent me a photo of my face photoshopped onto a wedding dress.
Now
So we're
we
off to a
already
great
have
start.
one meme. What did Jared say earlier? Who Riley Priest?
Riley Priest.
There we go. So Riley Priest, another brand new meme we can use all season. So just the first of many we'll have this.
First of many. Well, guys, I think that about wraps it up. Let's get on out of here. I can show you whatever meme I was supposed to show you later, but later. See you guys. Have a good night.
See you on my channel.
Have some fun tonight. Go get us a W. Hell yeah. Ready. Green. What the copy? Right foot down. We had to go, Brad. Unbelievable, man. Way to keep your head in it. Holy oh, boy. Oh, boy. Yeah. What? Yeah. I'm done with it. Kiss your face. Set sail. Steve, you look beautiful. Doing great.